We'll
it.
do it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Let's maybe not say
Fucking
that as
thing
soon
sucks.
as. But I do love that video. It's classic.
It really is. Ever
What does
since
that mean? What does that mean?
to
What is
mean
it?
will play us out to end the show. And here's Sting. I'll write it and
Hello,
we'll do it live. Hi,
hello,
everybody.
everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Sunday stream. I hope everyone's doing all right. Before we talk about anything we're actually going to talk about today is some fun, exciting news for all the Americans out there. Is that now the Olympics have officially concluded, and USA #1, baby, again. Suck it, China. Suck it, everyone else. We
Nice. Did we
we
wait? Did we
tied.
did we end up winning in the gold medal count or?
We're tied with
I
China in golds, and then we've cleared them easily in total number of medals. So that's a
goddamn
win
right.
in my book.
2 billion people. You can't field more than more than 100 athletes that can win. A nice
Suck
try,
it,
China.
everyone else, but especially China.
USA,
The USA
USA.
baby.
Uh, but did you have you seen the Australian breakdancing?
I have, and I wanted to end it all a little bit. No, it was terrible. I was like, what's amazing is that I don't really feel like breakdancing should be an Olympic sport at all. But even if it's going to be, I know I've seen way better breakdancing. So like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. I was very confused with the breakdancing one. I think one of the big problems being that uh, breakdancing is kind of a fringe hobby a little bit. It's
Oh, you
definitely
think?
yeah. It's and I say hobby because sport is stretching it, but it's a kind of a fringe hobby. So I don't really know what any of these terms mean. And at least like with gymnastics, there's a pretty easy way to determine. You can say like, oh, that's like a triple flip or something like that on the ballot, that kind of thing. With breakdancing, they're throwing out all these terms that like they probably know, but I feel like a total jackass sitting there trying to figure out what which one counts as a freeze and which one doesn't, and what the scoring metrics are. And come to find out, the scoring metrics for the breakdancing are just, well, who was vibing harder? That guy wins.
who who had the best vibes?
Yeah.
Who was slaying the hardest? Blank Face says breakdancing is like jazz, very free form. It sounds like a weird thing to grade and critique. Yeah, I've also seen a couple dumb people say that like, well, they should have music at the Olympics. And it's like, are you
You
actually
high?
retarded? Like, what are you? No, what on earth would that? Anyway,
At the very least, this has unified us all in we've stopped talking about adding League of Legends to the Olympic sport roster, and I'm
oh,
thankful for
esports,
that.
is that a thing people have tried for?
Yeah, I
I
remember
think
very
you know
much during like in Rio, in the Rio Olympics, people were begging for MOBAs, like for Dota 2 or League of Legends, to be put into the Olympics, and I'm glad we've moved on from that because I can't imagine like
the coverage of that.
what the fuck.
Yeah.
We don't need to
At
hand
the,
any more medals to Korea, okay? Like, there's no
at the,
reason.
yeah. Oh, they killed it in team archery. That was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. Oh, and
I mean, A, archery is just really, really cool. B, South Korea is really good at it, and I like South Korea. They make a lot of good movies, and I like their food. And C, they beat China, and that's always fun to watch. I'll root for anyone against China, essentially. Um, so that was fun. Yeah, the South Koreans, they dominate team
yeah,
archery. They're
I
really good at it.
I watched a lot of the shooting ones. The U.S. medaled in one of the craziest skeet competitions I think I've ever seen. Did you watch that? The U.S. Skeet shooter. He hit like 59 targets in
Oh, I
60
did not
seconds.
see that.
It was
That sounds fun.
amazing. But then I
I'll have to
watched
look
the
that up.
air pistol finals also, where the Turkish assassin, was just kind of like, you know, casually hitting bullseyes until he wasn't. But the Serbians won the pistol shooting competition. So, undefeated since 1914. The Serbian pistol shot that changed the world.
Yeah. Mr. Redhead says, I sent you a link on Twitter, but I'm not sure if you saw it. But leading up to the Robert Eggers version, I'm curious if you have seen Werner Herzog's version of Nosferatu from 1979. I haven't. And also, I don't think I saw. Did you send it in a DM or did you send me an actual link on Twitter itself? I didn't see that, so sorry if I missed that. But no, I have not seen the Werner Herzog Nosferatu. I've seen the original, the very original, but I haven't checked that out. Yeah, maybe I'll check that one out too. There's quite a few things. There's Nosferatu the Vampire. Is that the one is that what it's called? Is that what the Werner Herzog one is?
I don't know.
The Vampire, 1979. Yep, that's the one. Okay, I've heard of that. And maybe I'll watch that one as well before we see the newest version of Nosferatu.
Yeah, I've seen two versions of Nosferatu. I've seen the original one, and I've seen Vampire's Kiss with Nick Cage, which.
There's also not interview. What's it called? There's one that's about the making of Nosferatu with
Shadow of the Vampire.
Shadow of the Vampire. That's the one. I've been meaning to watch that one for a while just to see what that's about because it's got some good people in it, but it's very hard to find on streaming, or at least it was. Yeah, it's got Willem Dafoe as Max Schreck, John Malkovich, Cary Elwes. It's got a lot of people in it.
Fun. And Willem Dafoe is in Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, so the two-time. He's back.
He's great. I really like him in everything.
Speaking of that, speaking of Willem Dafoe, I never clarified. I realized that while I was sitting in the theater for Trap, one of the advertisements that they played before they started the trailers was it was a Nike ad, an Olympic, their Olympic
Willem
Nike
Dafoe?
Ad. With Willem Dafoe doing a voiceover.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. It's fun.
Yeah,
I like it.
It is.
I'm for it.
It is.
Describe it for the people that haven't seen it.
Willem Dafoe is basically giving a villain speech about how he I'm better than you. I want to take what's yours and never give it back. I does that make me a bad person? And it is overlaid with a bunch of athletes just doing crazy, ridiculous things and kicking.
You know what I like?
Ass.
You know what I like about that ad so much is because I feel like a lot of times people who, aren't involved with sports, never played sports, or just kind of watch it from afar, don't like to recognize just how absurdly competitive all these athletes at the highest level are. And so they don't like to see the more prickly side of that where they're like, I'm gonna fucking destroy you and everything you worked for. That sort of I like that it had that energy. It was pretty hype. And I liked Willem Dafoe's villain speech. It was good. I was like, this is my kind of thing. I enjoy it.
Yeah, the Kobe Bryant shots over top of that too. Considering how he was.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not seeing the chat on the screen, you dingus. All these people are sending all these beautiful, beautiful messages, and they're not showing up on the screen. And I feel like that's a betrayal, and you should apologize.
I will once I figure out why that's happening.
Donald's Angry asked, did we see Twisters? Pretty good. I enjoyed it enough. I thought it was fine and enjoyable. Unironically, the best part of the movie was the chemistry between Daisy Edgar Jones and what's his face? What's his name? I'm blanking on his name right now.
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell, that's the one. They had really good chemistry, and so the romance actually worked pretty well. In terms of the tornado action, it was all fine. Okay, but the biggest criticism I have of the movie, and I'm not the only one, is that they should have kissed at the end. They should have, and they didn't. Honestly, it was a moral failing on the part of the filmmakers. They filmed the kiss at the end, and then they just didn't put it in the movie. Can you believe it?
That's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
That's not what the chat's supposed to look like.
Yeah, no, I don't. It was working fine before. I don't understand what happened here.
Oh my goodness! This is a disgrace. Where to get? Well, while Hugh figures that out, I'll talk to you fine folks in the chat. A blank face. Yeah, he wants to be seen. All right. I feel like you need to validate him or her. I don't know. Everyone's a man on the internet until proven otherwise, though. So we're gonna go with him. I watched The Seventh Seal and was confused. That's the Bergman movie, right?
No way. Deadlock.
Seventh Seal. I haven't actually seen
Oh,
that one.
yeah, that one.
That's the
Yeah,
chess playing chess against the devil or something,
yeah,
something like
playing
that.
chess against the devil, Black Plague, Max von
Have you seen,
Sydow.
have you seen that one?
I've seen that a couple
Right.
times. Yeah, I like it. I think it's just you know, it's a little. It's one of those sad European movies. you know.
Yeah, I can get that. Josh Hartnett looks like Ryan Johnson there, big wide face. How dare you? How dare you insult Josh Hartnett in that way? Um, well, you're having trouble over there with the chat, and frankly, I am hurt and offended. I feel like
I,
we've done.
we've done
What
this.
happened to you?
The script for making it transparent stopped working on me. I'm trying to fix it up. Trying to fix it up right now. I just
That's all right. We'll keep talking about the Olympics and how breakdancing should not be there. Probably, I think.
I
I
would agree with
think
that.
anything that you watch and it just looks stupid, even if it is technically somewhat impressive, just like no. The skateboarding is another one that I watched like 5 minutes of skateboarding this time around, and like they started their runs and then they immediately fucked up. I'm just like, what am I watching? Like this doesn't. I don't feel like I'm watching the highest level of anything here. So also, boxing is pretty boring at the Olympics because all the best boxers in the world don't do it. Like they don't go to the Olympics. These are all
Yeah.
amateur boxers. All the professional boxers who are actually good and kind of fun to watch. None of them are here. Boxing was really boring, so that wasn't fun. The men and the women's USA teams both beat France to win gold in basketball. Suck it, France. That's always fun. I like track and field stuff. Track and field stuff is like probably most classic Olympic
Yeah.
events, and those are always fun to watch. Since when is it a sport? Breakdancing, I assume you mean? No idea. Um,
Is that the one that
you know,
France? Because is there a rule that every time like the host country gets to add a new sport every time? Is that
I don't know.
I
I
thought
do
that I
not
think
know.
that's a thing. But if
You don't
if it
have
is,
to,
yeah,
just because you can. Doesn't
I
mean
know
you
that
have to.
baseball is supposed to be coming back next time. They're bringing the baseball tournament back, so hopefully the MLB will let the good players come and do that, and we can get a best on best baseball tournament. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be kind of fun. I've also heard that I don't know if the closing ceremonies have happened yet. I mean, after the opening ceremonies, I didn't have much interest in checking them out, except that they do the thing they always do is like, oh, it's like a transfer to the next host country. And apparently Tom Cruise is going to do some crazy stunt.
Neat.
That's what I've heard. I don't know what it is. I'll probably not watch.
Hopefully, it will be better than the one he did at the end of the last Mission Impossible movie. Because yeah,
The one they hyped up and
the
that
one they
was
hyped
kind of
up and that was kind of
underwhelming. Yeah.
kind of a stinker. Yeah,
It's very underwhelming because like he just goes off the cliff and it's like I know that you're doing it for real.
yeah, like that's
But
the
also
big
you
stunt in the movie. Like,
yeah, but also you look so small in the frame. It's very underwhelming. It's
yeah,
not at all like the Halo jump or
yeah,
some of the other awesome stunts. And especially because they hyped it up and like the whole movie was like, "Whoa, look at this awesome stunt." When you see it in the movie, it feels kind of fake. Even though it is real, it feels kind of fake because they digitally replaced like a craggly cliff face with like a long ramp. And he's so small in the frame it might as well have been fake.
yeah,
Like it doesn't like with the Halo jump with the camera right in his face, you see the effect of the wind and everything. You're like, "Oh, damn, that's real. I'm glad you did that for real because you couldn't fake that." They could have faked this one. They easily could have faked this one. It wouldn't have made much of a difference, especially with the way they shot it. Anywho, I
yeah.
hope the
I can't figure out what's going wrong here.
Did I see that the director of the opening ceremony was struck by lightning? No way.
Wait, what?
No way. Hold on. Hold on. I have to look this up. French opening ceremonies lightning. There's no way. Hold on. Checking. It appears to not be true. No, okay, it's not true.
Damn.
I knew that was too good to be true. That would have been. I could see why someone made that up because it's kind of funny. I'm glad he didn't get struck by lightning though, because I imagine that hurts quite a bit. Haven't experienced it myself, but I can't imagine it's fun. Well, I see we're no closer to putting
I
that
don't.
on the screen. We'll solve that problem for next time. I don't want the window just up there like that because it looks silly. So we'll figure it out for next time. Instead, let's talk about Trap, M Night Shyamalan's new movie, horror thriller and or a comedy. Kind of remains to be
It
seen
remains to be seen. I watched
what
it, and I'm
genre
not
this
even
is.
sure what the answer to that question is.
So yeah, let's see. So this is a relatively new movie. Came out last weekend, and some people may or may not have seen it in the chat. So let's start before we get into any spoilers, which of course we will do eventually. Why don't we start, Hugh, with would you recommend Trap? Would you recommend people go check it out? What did you think of the movie overall?
No. That's the sum, the be all end all of my thoughts. No, no, I would not. I would not recommend it. No, I did not. I did not enjoy myself very much. I was having there was some fun to be had. Couple bits in particular, especially there's a lot of moments where people will talk straight down the barrel of the lens
Yeah,
in this movie,
just
and
like Silence of the Lambs.
yes, yeah, just like Silence of the Lambs, exactly like that. Josh Hartnett really kind of makes those moments that he's doing it work. He's really funny uh,
Yeah.
in that in those bits. Um, it gets very boring by the end. I would say it kind of starts to drag a little bit. It it's almost like M Night Shyamalan thought the end of this movie was going to be really serious. That this was going to be a big emotional moment for his characters. I can't say I had a blast at the theater. It's only an hour, about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. There are parts that really drag. A lot of those would be the music that his daughter did.
Yep.
Those fucking suck, and they play out in excruciating length.
Yes.
It's really bad. This was as sort of intended, as I understand it, to launch her career as a pop star, um, or something. I'm not really. She recorded an album of 14 songs under the alias of Lady Raven for the movie, where she plays the pop star Lady Raven, which we'll certainly get into whether or not I think that works. I'm not really sure what they were going for with that. Sure. There's Darman levels of dialogue on this.
Yeah, that's a problem I find with a lot of M Night Shyamalan's movies, even the ones with better premises. I've never been a huge fan of this dialogue, but I happened to rewatch Signs recently to watch a video talking about it for EFAP. You can find that EFAP out there. It's a fun one. Apparently Signs is one of Chris Stuckman's favorite movies. And so we watched his review of Signs thinking like, well, if this is one of his favorite movies, maybe
Surely
he'll
he
have
reviewed
something
it.
surely he'll have something substantive to say about it. No, spoiler alert, he didn't. He had very little of any substance to say about his one of his favorite movies, which is kind of interesting. So watching Signs again, I was struck by just how goofy the movie is until it isn't. Signs is a movie that I really wish went in either direction. Because Signs is not a movie I think is very good overall, especially with its themes and message. I would have liked it to be
Yeah,
goofier and stupider, just because some of those moments are legitimately quite funny in Signs, but it doesn't quite go all the way to really becoming a comedy. And I feel very similarly about Trap. Trap was almost stupid enough to recommend wholeheartedly, but there's
It
just too
really
many
just lets
moments.
itself down, I think. Yeah.
There's too many moments, too many sections that stop being funny and just are just boring. And you're just like, okay, come on, get on with it. Get back to Josh Hartnett like sleuthing and sneaking around and doing stupid things, really contrived things to get out of this trap. Um, it's not quite entertaining enough all the way through. For a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes long, it definitely drags. This could have been an hour and 20 minutes, honestly, and it would have been much more enjoyable. They spend too long in the back half of the movie outside of this venue. So he's the basic premise of the movie is that Josh Hartnett takes his daughter to the equivalent of a Taylor Swift concert, even though it's like we have Taylor Swift at home. And it turns out that there's a massive police presence at this concert, and it turns out this has all been a trap for a serial killer called the Butcher. And oh my God, the serial killer is Josh Hartnett. And so the main character is a serial killer trying to get out of a trap set by the cops at a pop music concert.
A trap.
And
Let's put trap in quotes here because I like it's the
we'll
plan.
we'll get all into that. But the point is, at least a third of the movie happens after they leave the concert. It's a long time,
it's a very long time
and
afterward.
I think that was a mistake.
Yeah.
That was a pretty big mistake because once they leave the concert, you're like, okay, we're heading to the climax now, but you still got a while. There's a lot that happens. So I think pacing is really all over the place, but there is a lot of stupid, dumb fun to be had because this is probably the stupidest movie I've seen in a while. It's incredibly
It's
contrived.
very
Everything
contrived.
about it is just amazingly stupid, remarkably stupid, and I had a lot of fun laughing at it. And I think Josh Hartnett is aware that this movie should be fun, and he's trying his best to make it fun. And there's a couple smaller details where it's clear that M Night is not accidentally making something funny. He knows it's funny, but then he tries to do more serious, heartfelt stuff also that doesn't work at all, I think. Not
Yeah.
least because he's not great at getting good performances out of people who aren't already good. You know what I mean? His cameo in this movie is
Oh
especially
my God.
lame.
It's less of a cameo and more just like a full-on role. Like at the
Yeah,
amount
well,
that he puts
Signs was
himself
the
on
same
screen.
way. He
Oh,
gives
that's right.
he has a big emotional scene to do in Signs, which was also a mistake. But yes, in short, this movie was not quite stupid enough to recommend as a so bad it's fun movie. There's I enjoyed it quite a bit, but it wasn't consistently funny enough to recommend. There's just too much boring stuff that happens. And so I wouldn't recommend it. A very tiny like sliver of people will enjoy this ironically all the way through, but I just thought it needed a little more. He needs to make a goofy, campy, stupid movie that's what it is all the way through. It's never trying to be serious because he's unironically pretty good at that. Like the way he shoots these like looking straight down the barrel of the lens close-ups with these really wide angle lenses and all that stuff. They're funny. They're kind of inherently funny, and he kind of knows how to do comedic framing. Like he knows how to make something funnier with how you shoot it. And I just want him to make a stupid comedy and just stop trying to inject like heart and wholesomeness and all that sort of stuff into it because he's not good at that. Like the actual character drama stuff, he's not good at. The plot of
No,
this movie
not at all.
is the plot of this movie is absurd. It's so insanely stupid, and that was enjoyable, but not
I
enough
really
for the
liked
whole movie.
the whole like the stupid premise of it, right? Like I really liked
Yeah,
the idea of like, okay, this guy is being hunted. And it's an escape thriller from the perspective of a serial killer, or at least the premise is
yeah.
getting out of an arena, a crowded arena full of cops, and and I was like, okay, cool, I'm in. Like that sounds great.
Hmm.
Does not fulfill that promise at all.
No, no, not in a way that you'd enjoy unironically.
Yeah.
It was stupid enough that like the scenes where he's not in the actual arena, like where he's out on the outside, he's like trying to figure ways out and he's doing really stupid, crazy things to outsmart the cops. I really enjoyed that, not because it was good, but because of how just silly, just incredibly silly and campy it was. So, but it's not any, no one's going to enjoy this movie and think it was actually really clever and smart and thrilling. You know
Well,
what I mean?
some people might.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that, but hardly anyone will.
There were a
I
couple
think
people in my theater who really seemed like they were on board for the ride the whole time.
I'll tell you, I saw it with a pretty crowded theater here in Atlanta on a Saturday night, and I think a lot of people going into it were expecting like a sort of horror thriller. You know what I mean? That's sort of what the movie advertises itself as, not as a like a silly campy comedy. And I think a lot of people were looking for that. And then I could feel them warming up to the idea that this is just something to laugh at as the movie went on. Like I was laughing pretty early on.
Yeah,
You know,
I came into it. I started cracking up quite early. The frustrations. I went to see this with my whole family, and my brother was I like we had come from brunch with my parents, getting white girl wasted on mimosas at that down by the lakefront, and the frustration set in for him pretty early. He started writhing around in his chair. There were a couple times where when I looked over to see how he was reacting to certain things, the seat was empty. And he had just taken a bathroom break, but I had a legitimate concern that he had gotten up and walked out and was not coming back.
yeah, it's wildly stupid, and I was enjoying it, and I think people by the end of the movie, people in the audience were laughing at how absurd it is. Like when there's something he does at the very, very end when you think they finally caught him, and there's a little moment like, but maybe he'll get away. That like the theater kind of erupted into laughter at that moment. So like by the end, they were like, okay, this is something to laugh at. I enjoyed myself enough, but I wouldn't really recommend it to most people because it doesn't really land squarely in any sort of mode of enjoyment. The worst parts, easily the worst parts, is having to listen to mediocre pop music for extended periods of
Oh
time.
my god. Yeah.
That's where you would cut almost everything in an attempt to make this movie better. You do very little of that and focus mostly on this cold-blooded serial killer trying to get out. But there's long
But there's long
sequences of like,
sequences of like playing music or singing or just being the hero of the story.
oh God, yes, and she's not a good actress either. At least
She's
not in
about as good
this.
as her dad.
Yeah.
It runs in the family.
Honestly, I think we can jump into spoilers now. The short version is we would not recommend it,
Yeah.
though I think I clearly enjoyed it a bit more than you did.
Yeah, I think you did. But yeah, no, I not a fan. Did not have a great time. But there is some fun to be had. And it is really stupid. So
Kind of like it reminds me of Madam Web. I this Madam Web is a bit more enjoyable in the so bad it's good camp, but both movies weren't consistently entertaining enough to recommend in that manner.
yeah.
They have their moments though.
So real quick
There's some hysterical moments in this movie.
before we jump into it, the chat seems mostly to be okay with the ugly chat. Maybe if we make it a little bigger and hide the sign in button.
No, I
No?
don't like it. This is not a democracy.
Okay. All right. Fire.
I don't like the ugly chat. It I don't like it.
Okay. Fine. So you heard it, Chad. I am your advocate here. He is against you.
No, it looks clunky and cluttered, and I don't care for it. I'm all about aesthetics, as you can tell by the current background. All right,
Yes.
I have very highbrow aesthetic tastes. You see. So yeah, let's talk about the
Let's
movie.
talk
Let's
about it.
spoil
Let's go to this next one and then rehide the chat. Sorry, guys. All right. Yeah. So let's talk about this movie. you want to get us started, Jamie? You want to introduce us to the world of the trap?
Well, we got the basic premise covered. Essentially, a serial killer is taking his daughter to a Lady Raven concert, who is the most mediocre current day pop star imaginable.
But she's
Um,
iconic, and young girls really kind of like eat her music up, and they TikTok dance to her music videos in the lobby of.
I'm of two minds about this because, on one hand, I think I would enjoy it more if the movie was kind of acknowledging how mediocre she was.
Yeah,
And it's kind of funny how much these little girls love it, even though it's not even all that special or like good musically or any of that. That would be kind of funny. That's one direction you could go, but clearly the movie is like, no, she's actually really good. I'm like, no, she's not.
no.
I'm sorry. She does not. Well, and it's not even just the quality of the music, which from a production value standpoint, just like in terms of the instrumentals and all that, sounds fine. Like it sounds like of that quality, but in terms of the singing and the lyrics and the melodies and all that stuff, it's just pretty lame and generic. But the big problem is that the Lady Raven character, played of course by M Night Shyamalan's daughter, something Night
Salika
Shyamalan.
Night Shyamalan, who's in her
Yes.
musical career, she just goes by Salika, the mononym. Um,
Oh, very mysterious. Anyway, she plays this character, but she does not have the charisma and stage presence of a pop star at this level. So you just cannot convince me that anyone in this world would be like fawning over her like they are, like all the people at this concert are, considering how, flat her performance is and her stage presence is just
it's
not
no,
there.
it's
You
not.
don't,
And
you know,
there are
you need
so many shots of the daughter screaming, right? Like full, like just direct down the middle of the lens. The daughter is like screaming and going, "Oh my god!" She cannot pretend like that.
no.
This is working for her.
And
It's
when she's on stage, like trying to get a whole crowd excited and hype, she just doesn't have it. Now, you don't
no,
have to like the music of Taylor Swift, Dua Lipa, and any of these like current day modern, pop singers that she's clearly modeled on in this film to recognize that Taylor Swift is much more engaging and charismatic as a performer
yeah.
than, just she's just way better on stage. She's way better in front of a giant crowd of people. And like you need an actor who can provide you that energy. You need someone with that level of just kind of raw charisma. Someone like someone who is just very engaging on screen. And this she does not have it. She
But
does not
she
have it at
doesn't have
all.
it, and they can't quite seem to decide on what the performance aesthetic is for this character, because there are a lot of people in the lobby when they're walking in, at the beginning of the movie, dressed in these like goth, almost like goth BDSM leather costumes, get ready,
A little
and
bit, yeah.
throughout the entire performance, she's just sort of wearing like white. She's just like basically wearing like white lingerie, and like coats and stuff like that, which I'm like, I don't this what kind of music are we listening to here, really? Like what is she? Her name's Lady Raven, and she's got these like Evanescence level special effects of
Yeah.
birds and things in her music videos, but then the music sounds like pretty basic coffee house girl music, like
Yeah.
I'm not sure what we're going for with
No,
this.
it felt kind of incoherent in that regard too. And yeah, like you said, there's kind of a mismatch between the sort of weird like Taylor Swift but goth, but then also she's just like a normal Taylor Swift type. It's kind of all over the place. But every scene that in the arena listening to the music, it goes on for too long and is not engaging. And I could live with it if there was some sort of acknowledgement that like at least Josh Hartnett's character is like, really, you're super into this? This is lame. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But if he didn't actually like the music, if there was a line later in the movie when he was trying to explain why he keeps running away to go do his weird like sleuthing and everything,
Yeah, his
if he's
reconnaissance.
yeah, whatever we want to call that. If he said to his daughter like, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the music, but I'm glad you're enjoying it, something like that. Or if there was a bit more like a look on his face when he hears the music and sees everyone singing, that he was just like, really? You're all excited for this?
Yeah.
That could be kind of fun. But unfortunately, the director cast his own daughter, and so clearly he thinks this is all good and is trying to promote her. I've seen people say that this is mostly just an ad for his daughter. It's not all that, but it's a
It
huge
is.
chunk of
I
it.
don't blame you for thinking that though, because
It's a,
it is close.
yeah, he's too precious about her to cut down on her scenes because those are the ones dragging the movie down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the stuff
yeah. I
you need
mean,
to cut. There's a long, okay, for example, there's a long sequence where the daughter is invited on stage to sing with Lady Raven. Oh my gosh, she's so excited about it. And then we see her go on stage and dance with Lady Raven to this really generic, forgettable, lame, mediocre pop song. And we just listen to the whole song and watch her
yeah.
dance the whole time. And Josh Hartnett's just standing on the side, kind of looking on and smiling, like,
Oh,
hey.
and everybody, like the bully girl and her mom end up
Well,
having a
that was
complete
funny.
breakdown. Yeah.
That was so stupid. It was funny. But it goes on for ages, and you're like, this is not why I'm here, M Night. This is not what I'm here for. Like, clearly, this is all based on him going with his daughter to see Taylor Swift and being like, oh, and he came up with the premise. And that's kind of funny in a meta way to imagine M. Night Shyamalan at a Taylor Swift concert looking around at all the police, like, oh, what if they were here to catch a serial killer? Like, not listening to the music, just imagining this stupid movie in his head. That's kind of amusing. But yes, the music is not good. The pop star is not convincing as a pop star that has so many enthralled fans. I just don't buy it. She's selling out
No.
these arenas and has all these young girls that are like hanging on her every word, but she's not charismatic really at all.
No, she is
No,
not.
she doesn't. No, like Josh Hartnett is more charismatic. And
Yeah, very
that's
well,
a
and that's
problem.
yeah, and her stage presence. I mean, like she comes out when she's giving him the the moments in the concert, right? For her to sort of be like talk about when what she wrote this song for and everything. She has these like really lame speeches like that feel a little bit like a they feel like a Darman sketch, right? Where she's just like, if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have someone who's hurt you and you can let that go, turn on the light on your phones. And then everybody starts turning on the light on their phone. It's meant to be sort of this moment where Josh Hartnett realizes that his daughter is a bigger person than the bully, and like all that, but it doesn't play that way really, because
No.
it's just kind of like it's like she keeps stopping the music to have these profound moments of like talking about her career and everything,
Yeah.
which it's a little bit rich coming from a girl who looks about the same age sort of as the daughter in the thing. Like it's just it's kind of lame. That's the most annoying part of the movie, and for some reason he well, I guess it's not difficult to parse out, but he basically decides that this character who keeps dragging the energy of the movie down like a lead balloon needs to become the main character for the second third
Yeah.
of the movie. Like,
Well, I realized eventually that M Night has a crisis of conscience in writing this movie, where he realizes like, wait, I don't think I can actually make the serial killer the main character the whole time, because people are going to want him to win, but that's bad because he's a serial killer. And it's like, just
yeah,
commit to your stupid idea. Like, this movie there's nothing serious to glean from this movie, all right? I just want to watch Josh Hartnett run around and try to get away. Like, I kind of want him to get away fully at the end, which is sort of what the movie does, but there's so many.
oh my god, yeah, well,
It's very muddy, but like he clearly has this moment where he's like, well, uh-oh, if we're following the serial killer who's like butchering people, they call him the butcher, and he's clearly doing horrible things to people. We can't have the audience rooting for him to get away ultimately. So we need to focus on this pop star as someone who's trying to work with the cops to help catch this guy because she's just so good. and it's like her trying to save the day essentially. And it's like, I don't care about that, dude.
Yeah, no, do not.
You haven't earned that at all.
Trying to save the day. Oh boy, I love that. I
That's a
unironically found that part hilarious. Like when she gets, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. Jen in chat that you can't see. Again, sorry guys. One time she saw John Mayer live, and he stopped the music to talk about how online people call him a douchebag, but he isn't actually a douchebag.
Yes, here's the thing. It doesn't bother me at all in terms of the logic of the story that she stops to have these really cringe moments where she talks to the audience. It's just that she's not charismatic at all.
Yeah, that's the thing that bothers me most about it, right?
Yeah.
Is like I've been to concerts where people have stopped to talk about, what like why they wrote the headspace they were in when they wrote this
Yeah.
song and like what it's about and all that.
All that sort of
Like it
stuff.
doesn't bother me. It's just that this chick can't perform. So it's like it
Yeah.
comes across as very stunted. I mean, most of the dialogue throughout the movie, is very stunted and doesn't feel like anything a real
So
person
there's a
would
part
say.
where he's trying to avoid being caught by the FBI, head of the FBI lady, and he helps this woman who is about to faint, like, I don't know, from heat stroke or something, even though they're inside, and like takes her to the first aid tent, even though this is not a music festival. Anyway, he brings her in, and the one nurse lady who's there, she's like, "Oh my gosh, can we keep
He's
him?"
a gem. Can we keep him? Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's the level of dialogue. It's
yeah.
unbelievably bad.
Well,
It's
and like,
very
what does he
funny.
do? Like, what does he do in that? So, okay, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Also, is like the people fainting, right? Because this happens multiple times in the movie. And
Mhm.
at first, I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, you're showing this a lot, right? So, like, it happens at the very beginning. There's like people sort of wobbling, and like looking kind of like they're about to pass out, right? They look unwell,
Yeah.
comically unwell. Um,
He pushes one
he
down the
pushes
stairs.
one down the stairs in an attempt to
Ugh,
create a distraction so that he can sneak out of the arena, right?
that
Uh,
was funny.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah, that was. And then it happens again, and he uses it as a way to get into the backstage tent. That's the only reason that it's there. Uh, these people who are passing, like, there's an epidemic of people passing out at this concert, and
At
it's
this indoor
used.
concert happening at 11 in the morning or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
it's very bright outside the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was sitting there like, oh god, wait, is the twist gonna be that there's like he's like not only is he trapped in here and he has to get out, but also like there's a corona outbreak going on and people are gonna start like get like a super AIDS outbreak is happening. It's like, oh my god, like because we're showing this a lot, right? And they're lingering on these scenes of people fainting. And I was like, okay, like that's interesting. Like, how crazy are we gonna get with it? Not crazy at all. It just happens when we need an excuse to get him from point A to point B.
Yeah.
That's it. It's
Well,
the only reason.
yes, and also that's all my favorite stuff in the movie. So he arrives at the concert with his daughter. It's normal father-daughter stuff, but with very stilted dialogue. Like they get a pretzel or something from one of the stands, and they're sitting down. And he's like, "So how are things going with your friends at school? Are they still bullying you?" Like that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Very obvious, very awkward. But Josh Hartnett is doing his best to make it fun, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Josh.
he's
Um,
asking her about lingo. What does crispy mean?
oh yeah, they're doing the classic like boomer dad doesn't understand the slang of the youth type stuff. And he makes it surprisingly enjoyable, like only because he's really pulling the whole movie. He's carrying
He's
the whole movie
carrying
on his
it all
back.
on his back.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. He's very fun in this movie. I really quite like it. He's doing a lot of very funny, silly things. My mind goes to a shot where he's listening to the SWAT guys talk about like, remember, this is our guy. This is what he looks like. This is why we're after him. All that stuff, and he's listening in the background. He's just got this dumb smirk on his face. And he's kind of small in the frame, like over the shoulders of the SWAT guys, just listening with a dumb, stupid smile on his
Yeah.
face. It's funny. Anyway, so he's with his daughter. They go into the arena, and he's like, "Oh, this is fun. I'm so happy for you." But as he's walking around, he's like, "Man, there sure are a lot of cops here." Um, but not sure why. He's seeing the cops pull people aside and like take them into custody, but he's not really sure what's going on, but he's kind of on edge. And then at one point, they're at a t-shirt stand, and there's this
Oh,
scene that you see in the trailer, and
yes,
there's
but
a
so I want to set this up a little bit because
go
he
for
gets
it.
the information from the T-shirt vendor. A couple minutes into the concert, um, and the reason that the T-shirt vendor trusts him enough to give him this information. So this is one of my favorite parts of the movie, right?
Oh,
Part
it's hysterical.
it's
I
yeah.
love it.
So
So
they're in line for a T-shirt. The daughter wants a small. There's only one small left, and there's another little girl who's been standing in line, at the t-shirt place, who just didn't speak up, I guess, or like the guy didn't notice, who goes, "Wait, I want a small. I was here first," like way before her. And
mhm.
Josh Hartnett looks at his daughter and goes, "It's okay, Riley. She really, really wants it. You should let her have it. I can get you another one sometime." And she goes, "Okay, Dad, that's fine," and lets the other girl have it. And so the t-shirt vendor looks at him and goes, "Hey, man, you're a really good dad, you know? You got great family values. I think I'm going to get some more t-shirts soon. I can put one aside for you. Why don't you come back and see me in like 10 minutes?" And that's how he pulls him aside and gets the information
Yeah.
about what's going on. It's
And
because
then
the
he
guy.
the guy was just like, "Wow, you're a good dad, good family values." I love this dialogue. Darman is a great reference that you gave him. It's a great way of conceptualizing the dialogue in this. It feels very much like a Darman sketch. So he pulls him. He's like, "Hey, by the way, what are all these cops doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to tell anyone this." And he looks like directly into the camera. He's like, "You know the butcher?" It's like, well, they're here. They're set up a trap. They found out that he's going to be here today. The serial killer that the FBI and everyone's been hunting, he's going to be here today. And they set up a trap for him. No one's allowed in or out. And, they beefed up security and all this sort of stuff. And like they have a special code word and all that. And he tells him all this. And Josh Hartnett's like, really? Like, oh, that's crazy. Like,
Wow, that's wild. And they told you, a t-shirt vendor at the fucking concert, the
yeah,
whole
they told
fucking
everyone
plan.
apparently.
They gave everybody a code word.
And it's classic, like, I'm not supposed to tell anyone this, but I'm going to tell the first person I see. And there's something, I mean, there's a lot of really stupid stuff, but I like this one because it does feel like he's just so excited to talk about it,
Yeah.
you know? Like, because this is so cool for him, because he's like a fan, he's like a
Yeah,
true crime
he's a
fan,
true
I guess.
crime nut who's been digging deep into the butcher, you know.
Yeah. And he's like, oh my God, I'm going to be part of the team that catches him. And of course, he's like looking down the barrel of the lens for this conversation. So I find that kind of funny. It's like, the butcher, the guy's been chopping people up. So it's funny.
Yeah.
I like his performance, honestly. I thought he was fun
Yeah, he's fine. Like he's fine. I don't mind him.
as a supporting character. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Josh Hartnett realizes that, oh my goodness, this has been a trap. They're trying to trap him at a Taylor Swift concert, essentially. Sorry, a Lady Raven concert in universe. And so they've got tons and tons of security surrounding the building. And one of the things they just assert as true but never really talk about is like there's no way out except for maybe backstage. That's a line they say. And so for like the next 40 minutes of the movie, he's like trying to scheme ways of getting backstage in hilarious ways. Because if one of the first things he does is like, maybe we can step outside and get some air. Like he has his daughter with him, and he's like, oh, let's go get some air or whatever. And because this movie makes it seem like there are intermissions in pop music concerts. Like they'll just like it's not halftime
Yeah.
at a basketball game or something. Like they
They're-
don't take long breaks like that. But anyway, they're setting up the stage for the next part of the show. It's basically halftime for some reason. And so they're walking around. He's like, hey, let's go get some air. Let's step outside. And the daughter's like, oh, no, we got to be back in however many minutes. And so he sees the police by the door and he's like, I need to create a distraction.
And there's a
So
woman
he
who's
sees
like about to faint at the top of an escalator or staircase
either
or
because she
something.
drank too much or whatever the cause. She's feeling unwell. She's kind of wobbling on her feet. And so he pushes her down the stairs and she goes tumbling. And that creates a distraction. And then he runs down the stairs. He's like, hey, let's Like, let's not create a scene. Let's go step outside. And so he tries to go step outside, but then the police immediately just put more people at the door.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
it's
like,
like,
damn,
damn,
foiled.
foiled again.
So that's attempt number one. He's like, "What are we like?" And then he's like, "Oh, what are we doing? Let's head back before we miss any more of the show." And then we have to spend another long sequence listening to the music. I don't remember the precise order of all these, but there is a funny one where a guest singer comes to join on stage, and he pops up out of the floor.
Out of the floor of the stadium, and like this is ostensibly Philadelphia, like the arena in Philadelphia, because that's where it's taking place. It is a stand-in for what Wells Fargo Arena in Philly. And they have like this gigantic, like this big platform raise the guest singer up out of the middle of the stadium floor. And I'm just like, yeah, that what's underneath there that like is the shit for the ice rink. The Flyers are playing here on Tuesday, man. Like they don't have an underground complex beneath the floor of the arena.
No, that's not usually where people come out of this like hydraulic lift. That usually happens on stage,
and it comes out right next to them. Like, fortunately enough, because he bought floor seats,
yeah.
And he's looking at the because they leave the platform up there for a little while, and he looks for no reason, and he looks at it, and then he goes to his daughter. He's like, "Hey, wouldn't it be super cool if we could just sneak down there? I bet you they have costumes and stuff down there.
I bet you they have costumes and stuff.
Come on, there's costumes. It'll be fun. Let's sneak down."
And he's like, "Why are you being weird? Like, we can't go down there." He's like, "Oh, come on. I bet it's really cool down there. We should sneak down to." Stupid. Like, why? Why does? First of all, if he wanted to just go do that himself, he could have. But he's like trying to convince his daughter to do it. And then eventually they close the door and we get this shot of his eyes like, damn, there goes my shot. It's been pointed out that if you leave the arena, they probably wouldn't just let you back in necessarily, but the movie frames it like, oh, no one is allowed to leave without being screened by police. Well, eventually they get to the point where they're just stopping every man. Essentially, every adult man at this concert is being screened.
Because so the premise of the movie, right, is that the FBI has found out that the serial killer is going to be here. They don't know who it is, so they're setting up a trap for him. But the plan, basically, is that because we'll find out later that all they have that tells them that he's going to be here is a torn up receipt for the tickets. Right?
Torn up receipt for the ticket that they found at one of his like safe houses where he was holding and killing people. Nothing else there led back to him apparently, except for the torn receipt of a ticket that I guess just so happened to not include what seat number they were at.
No seat number, no credit card number, no barcode, no email, nothing. That didn't have any of that. It just had Lady Raven tickets, and like it didn't even have the number of tickets, right? Because they don't look for somebody who's there in a group. None of that. So their plan is basically lock down the arena and just interview every single adult male who they can while they're in the middle of the concert. So they're just like
one of the funniest moments for me is the FBI lady comes on the intercom to say like what he might look like based on their profile, and she basically just lists anybody. She's like, based on security footage we've seen from some of the different crime scenes, he could be black or maybe Asian or white or maybe fat or skinny or in between.
He might have a tattoo of a bunny or a lamb or something on his arm, and he looks down and he's got like a goat or something tattooed on him, or like I can't remember.
I think it's a lamb. Yeah. I don't know why. But he has that tattoo, and then he covers it up with a wristband or whatever.
So they slap bracelet. He covers it up with a slap bracelet, but he doesn't even like walk by. So basically, like really, all he has to do to get out of this trap is just lie.
So like when they're stopping people, because throughout the movie they're just pulling random dads essentially out of the audience to, I guess, question them, but like they have no evidence that like they think if he just covers up this tattoo. But even if it with the tattoo, it's like I don't know what they'd base arresting him on. They have nothing. Like if they caught him, how would they know, oh, this is definitely him compared to everyone else that they've stopped? Like what do? They stop him and say, "Are you the butcher?" And they're like, "No." It's like, "Ah, well, I guess it's
Damn.
not him."
Guess it's not him. Go. You can go back and enjoy the concert now, guy. Sorry for sorry for the trouble.
You know, or like when she was giving the physical description, which which was all over the place because it's like it could be any number of these physical descriptions. The one that made me, it just made me laugh because it reminded me of It's Always Sunny when he's doing the kitten mittens things. He's like, "Is your cat big, small, or in between?" Like that's basically the level of physical description they have, which is funny because you would think a criminal profiler would have a better sense of that sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in the Silence of the Lambs, they're like, he's definitely white, he's probably middle aged, all that sort of stuff. They don't go, well, maybe he's Asian, or maybe he's fat, or maybe he's skinny, or
Or
you
maybe
know,
he's two tall black guys. Yeah, like
maybe he's seven dwarfs in a trench coat. Who knows?
yeah, it's fucking insane, and the plan is and like, but they treat it. The movie treats it as if he gets stopped and questioned by the cops,
It's all over.
it's
Yeah.
over. Like if they just like stop him and ask him a question, he's cooked. Like that's how
Yeah.
how it's going.
So like, well, he needs to find a way out of here without being stopped by random police officers who don't really know much about profiling or anything like that. I mean, he convinces everyone else in the movie, including his family, that he's just kind of a normal dad.
Including multiple cops. He
Yes.
talks to multiple cops, so there's
Yes.
there's no plan.
He gets out of so many sticky situations by just being a good liar, but then the movie treats it like he can't just get out of here because what if they go, "Are you the butcher?"
Yeah, and then but like it's funny because the lies that he's telling in the movie, right? Because the way the dialogue is written, they don't sound convincing, but
No, they don't.
everybody's convinced when he.
But they are anyway. Yeah.
I love the part, like, so one of my favorite parts is when, in order to get his daughter up on stage, because he's going to get her up on, like, he's trying to get her up on stage to get backstage, right? Because that
Yes.
has been revealed as the only way that he can escape.
The movie asserts it as true, and therefore it is true.
Yes.
The only way out is to go backstage. And so he finds out that, oh, they do a thing during the Dreamer Girl song where they bring up one Dreamer Girl from the audience and she sings with her, and that allows them to go backstage. He's like, "Man, I got to find a way to get her backstage." So,
Yeah. So he comes up to Lady Raven's producer, who is her uncle, played by her father, M Night. And he pulls.
he's in this one too, as always.
Yes.
He gives himself a rather prominent speaking role in every one of his movies.
Yeah, and as several people in the chat have already pointed out, he pulls a boogie and he lies about his daughter having cancer.
Yeah.
He tells him she just recovered from leukemia. And he says, when, asserting her, like, mental state, right? He says, and this is pretty much a direct quote, she felt cursed, like she was chosen to be cursed.
She felt cursed, like she was chosen to be cursed. That's such a funny line. There's a lot of a lot of real clunkers in this movie.
And M Night is just like, "Aw, man, yeah, we could probably do that for you."
Yeah.
Sure. Damn, that she really felt like she was chosen to be cursed.
Yeah.
Almost like she was cursed or something.
Mr. Redhead asks, does this movie make Longlegs look like the more sensible film, the more sensible story? Arguably.
Arguably, yeah. I mean, so in Longlegs, right, they just mostly like spend a lot of time not investigating and sort of just chasing down strange leads that end up not mattering. In this one, the FBI's plan to catch the serial killer is to spend millions of dollars in taxpayer resources to just ask every guy with the overall schematic of a plan being, yeah, we're just gonna ask every guy at this concert, is he the butcher?
Yeah, I don't.
Like
There's no
that's
discussion of like how to screen them because the FBI lady is not going to go to every single one and then ask the sort of probing questions that she thinks might set off and identify the butcher. She's not doing that to every single person.
she's
They're just
barely even doing it. She's mostly just giving them like reminders to
yes,
expose the plot over the intercom, like over the
yes.
walkie-talkie.
Yes, she's reminding everyone here what the plan is so that he can learn it when he steals a radio from
Yes.
some SWAT guys. I love the scene where he steals that. So the precise order of operations here is not really important. There's just some fun scenes of him scheming and sleuthing and slinking around. One that made me laugh a lot is when he's trying to get into the sort of like behind the scenes area. And so what he does to create a distraction is he throws like some juice containers,
Oh no,
glass.
it's oil. It's frying
Okay, those
oil.
were oil.
So he
Yeah, frying
cranks
oil, and
up he
yeah,
cranks up the frying machine. And this is in one of the trailers, right? He cranks up the French fry machine to the
yeah,
maximum level
temperature. Yeah,
of to the maximum temperature and
oil's
drops.
bubbling and going crazy. So he takes oil that's in these glass jars for some reason, and he just drops them in there so they'll explode. And they explode and like maim this woman. And then
They
he,
severely burn this poor woman who's like just
yeah.
working at the fucking concourse, and he uses that as a distraction to steal an apron and go upstairs to the roof.
I don't know why he goes upstairs to the roof. Is he expecting an exit there? Like, of course they're gonna have snipers on the roof, probably, if anything.
If the
What are you
plan is,
hoping to
yeah, what do you
accomplish?
think you're gonna do?
He gets up there and then he's like, "Oh shit, there are police up here," and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing up here?" And he has to make up this lie about, "Oh, some lady just got burned." Well, he doesn't lie, but he's like, he pretends to be a cook who was just like, "Oh, she just got maimed by fry oils. This horrible accident. It's terrible. I just needed to come up here." And so they radio down, and he confirms the story essentially that someone did just get maimed in a kitchen accident. Well, they're like, "Hey, what's the code?" And he says the code because the t-shirt guy just gave it to him. And then he gets out of that sticky situation, but nothing comes of it.
Well, it's even
Why
worse
did
too because so many of these moments where he runs into the cops, he lucks out by just like random chance, right? So like the first time he does when he sneaks into the room to steal the radio, right? There is a giant team of SWAT officers just standing
Yeah.
around and recounting, what the plan is, which is
And why they need
and
to
why
catch
they
this
yeah, and
guy
why they
because
gotta
he's so
catch him.
evil. Yeah.
And he walks in because he stole the t-shirt guy's badge from his pocket, right?
Mhm.
And he walks in and he's like, oh shit, okay, like so this is what's going on. And he walks in and pretends to get coffee, and the cop looks at him and goes, "Hey man, where do you keep the sugar? Yeah, where do you guys keep the sugar?" And he goes, "Oh, somebody was supposed to refill that." So he opens the cabinet right under the coffee machine and goes, "Here, use my private stash," which implies that like when the fucking cop was looking for the sugar, he didn't just open the cabinet right underneath the coffee maker and find
Yeah.
the thing of sugar. So it's the only way, like, and he just goes, "Oh, here, use my private stash." And so it's like it's a fun lie because he's like making it sound like he hid it there, so it seems like he
Yeah.
knows the place, right, and diverts attention from him. But it doesn't make any fucking sense.
It doesn't it's pointless because if that guy didn't need sugar and he only needs sugar because he hasn't found it himself, even though like
It was right
it's
there.
one of the first places you'd check. But if he didn't need the sugar, nothing would have happened anyway
Yeah.
because no one was looking askance at him at all.
Yeah. He just
He,
walked in and they were like,
he
yeah,
just
well, whatever.
walked in. Yeah, they just assumed like, oh, he's just one of the employees here because he's got the little badge on.
Well,
I
because of
guess luckily,
course you would, because this is an insane fucking ask, right? Like you didn't like so the thing that this reminded me of is that there is a story from a police office or a police department in the DMV, right, in Delaware or Maryland, DC, Virginia area, where they went to a bunch of people who had outstanding warrants, who hadn't shown up, and they sent these like fake sweepstakes victory letters out to them where they like pretended that all these people who had outstanding warrants had won free season tickets to the Redskins. and they all like, and they told them where to come and pick them up, and they all showed up, or like a bunch of them showed up to
Yeah.
get the tickets, and they all got arrested on the outstanding warrants, right? Which is like, see, because like you empty the arena of a bunch of innocent civilians, you don't go to a stadium full of 18,000 people
Yeah.
and try to find one needle in a haystack. It just doesn't make any sense. There's too much chaos.
There's so many things wrong with the plan. For one, they found this ticket, remember, at one of his safe houses where he had held and killed people.
No,
And
no, no. The safe house that they found it at is not where he held and killed people. It's one of his safe houses where he just went to think and plan.
okay, but they know it was his.
Yeah, they know it's his, but
They
nobody.
know it's his somehow, but that has not led them to any other clues other than, well, he might be going to this Lady Raven concert. So that I already don't believe that at all. What we'll eventually learn is that the only reason that receipt of a ticket stub or whatever was at this safe house is because the wife planted it there hoping he would get caught. And she knows that he's taking their daughter to the concert. Why would this be your plan, you stupid bitch? Okay. So
It's
you
crazy
find
because she's just like, it's just a suspicion. I'm not really sure. Like, I thought he was having an affair, but then
I thought he was having an affair, then I found this weird safe house and I suspected that, oh my god, maybe he's a serial killer, and I was kind of too scared to do anything about it myself. So what I did is I left the receipt of ripped up. I ripped it up so they would think it was a mistake and not planted there on purpose. This receipt from the tickets you bought to take our daughter to a concert, alone, by the way.
yeah.
I left it there so you would maybe go there and you could catch him there, even though he would have our daughter with him, instead of any other scenario in which he might be alone. You know, you could call in an anonymous tip. People do that all the time.
Yeah. But no,
Anything?
planting the
No.
evidence for the
Planting
but
the-
she deliberately and she again, she like, when she ripped it, she must have deliberately ripped off the seat numbers. She must have ripped off how many tickets he bought. It was literally nothing but like ticket for Lady Raven concert. She might as well have just written it on the wall in like long legs code.
Hugh Taylor in the chat, which I believe is you, but I don't know
wow.
if that's your mom or your dad or someone.
It's I think that's my dad. It's probably both of them, honestly.
Well, he says not sure, but most places with security badges have a picture on them now. Yeah, yes, they totally do. You're absolutely right. So when he takes the security badge from the
black
sort
shirt
of
salesman,
the rotund black shirt salesman, and Charles Hartnett, this tall white guy walking around with it, you'd think probably would have a picture on it, but no, apparently not. Apparently not. Not in this case.
and the ID in the wallet that is left in the apron at the fry cook place on the concourse is a small, skinny Asian dude.
Yeah,
and he just happens to be able to.
You know what? Like, there's a lot of ways. I've seen them a few in the chat already, and I have some of my own ways of trying to improve this. I feel like it was a mistake to have it just be, oh, well, the serial killer we've been looking for that we know nothing about except for that he's going to be at this Taylor Swift concert. I think that's a really stupid premise, because there's almost no way of justifying that in a way that makes sense. What would have probably worked a little better if he was someone who was planning to target the singer or target people at this concert. You know what I mean? And so they beefed up security. Something like that.
Or like even that. So one of the things that for a second I thought they were gonna do, because at like right when they're walking in, somebody offers to, like, a scalper offers to sell him different tickets, right? And his daughter is super like, oh my god, we could be there instead, like 10th
We could
row.
be even closer.
We'd be even closer. And he goes, no, our seats are fine, are good enough, right? Like, that's fine. Now, I thought they were gonna do was have him be convinced that, to trade the tickets, right? And then he sees the cops come and get somebody at the seats where he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then that clues him into, oh shit, they're looking for somebody who had those tickets. Like, that
would have been better.
Yeah.
That would have been better. There's a lot that would still need fixing, but that would
Yeah,
definitely be
I mean
better.
that'd be something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually, he finds his way to that room where the SWAT guys are just expositing what they're here to do and who they're looking for and why they're looking for him. And then he steals radio from them. And now he has, the surveillance headset on and he's listening to them just describe who they're looking for and what they're doing and where they're going and all that sort of stuff. And then through all this, he learns what they know about him, which is very little, and what they're planning to do and all that. And he deduces that, well, I got to find a way to get backstage. So
He also at one point considers pulling the fire alarm, and then he hears over the radio the FBI profiler saying, he's probably going to try to create a scene by pulling a fire alarm.
forgot about that. Yes, he's about
So
to
if
pull
he
the fire
does,
alarm
only
and then
let the women and children out.
Yes.
Yes.
Which there's so much here, Hugh. Okay, first of all, the convenience that he was about to pull a fire alarm, and right at that exact moment, he's like, "Oh, by the way, he's probably going to want to pull a fire alarm to create a distraction. If that happens, only let women and children through." And then he's like, "Okay, well, I'll find a new way to make a distraction." The convenience of that is just astounding. And then the other thing is, if a fire alarm goes off and you only let women and children out of this building, that could be very, very, very bad.
Yeah.
Like imagine what happens if an actual fire breaks out and this head of the FBI spending millions of dollars just to catch this one serial killer, maybe, who they think might be here, maybe. Doesn't let any of the men out of a burning building and people die. That would be so funny.
It would be even funnier if he wasn't even there at all, right? It's just like she thinks.
I mean, that's totally okay.
Yeah, it's totally plausible.
It's totally possible because they find this safe house. I have no idea how they've connected it to the killer if he never killed anyone here. But somehow they've connected it to the killer. And all they have simultaneously is that, oh, he's probably going to be at this concert. Like, there's no reason to suspect that, like, there's no reason to assume that he'll definitely be here, such that if a fire alarm goes off, it's wise to not let any men out of the building. That's so funny. It's unbelievable. So just great logic all around from everyone in this movie. Just flawless. It's so stupid. I love how stupid this movie is. And so, yeah, that's when he decides his way of making a distraction will be to blow up glass jars in a fry oil machine.
Which could have caused a fire, which would have caused the panic, which would have... which would have fucked everything up.
So if he puts the oil jars in the fryer and they explode and that causes a kitchen fire, that sets the fire alarm off. And then the head of the FBI is like, no, don't let any of the men out of the building.
Separate the children, like the daughters and the father. Like they're pulling daughters out and being like, "All right, you can go. Dad, you have to stay."
They're separating children from their parents.
Oh my god.
That would be pretty funny.
And then also throughout the beginning part of this, right? So like we've established the daughter's being bullied at school by some of her classmates who are we're not really sure how, right? They're just sort of excluding her and posting a bunch of stuff on Instagram and everything, and that feels bad. We all understand.
But like, also, are you just growing apart from your friends, or are they just being deliberately cruel? Yeah. It's not clear at all. But then clear. Eventually, when we see this girl, she'll basically be like one of the brats from Willy Wonka in terms of the cartoon levels of terribleness. So you're like, oh, I guess she is just evil. Then why do you want to be friends with her? That's the other thing.
Yeah,
there's so many levels.
And so he runs into the mom of that girl out on the concourse, or
Jody or whatever her name is.
Jody, who is fucking crazy, right? Like she is nuts.
She's unhinged.
Yeah, absolutely unhinged. And she's just like, oh, I'm so glad. I'm sorry. I talked to her about I talked to my daughter about being friends with Riley. Like they're good. I think that would blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, oh well, I am a little mad. I'm a little hurt. My daughter was upset, and as a father, but he's like, but we can settle this, later, right? Like this is not the time we're here for them. And she like reaches out and grabs him like a full on. She has a full on fucking Karen moment where she
Like, don't fuck with me or whatever she
yeah.
says. Yeah.
Don't fuck with me. I will. Yeah, and the cops notice this, and he starts like panicking because I guess like instead of assuming that the cops are gonna come over and like ask him like, dude, are you okay? This like is this lady like what's going on here? She's causing a scene.
Is
Like,
this lady bothering
is this
you,
lady
sir?
bothering you, sir? Like, cause she I mean, she looks insane. It's like he's
Yeah,
trying to walk away,
she
acting
does.
like a normal person, and she is like she starts yelling.
Well,
Like,
there's two things. One, obviously, most people would still assume that like he did something that caused her to act like this just because he's a man and she's a woman. But to your point, she is acting unhinged enough that they might just be like, "Lady, like that she's the problem, not
yeah.
him." But either way, he's concerned about the attention that she's
Yeah.
drawing because she's acting absolutely insane.
And then at one point during their conversation, the cops just like straight up run over and tackle a dude in the middle of the concourse.
A couple things in chat. Someone asked, "Is this movie worse than Long Legs?" Or someone else responded that it's more entertaining than Long Legs, and I think
agree.
that's true.
I agree.
For the most part, not consistently, but it is more entertaining. Topaz Dude says, "I agree, but I feel like M Night would agree also based on how he talks about the realism of his own work. People don't talk or act like real people, but it feels largely by design." So there's kind of a conundrum with him, and it's that sometimes I think it's clear he's trying to be funny and amusing and silly and a bit over the top, but also so much of his movies, this one is included, but so many of his other movies rely on emotional payoffs that just don't work.
Because
But like
they don't feel like because
they
don't feel like
or
real
act
people.
like real people. You know what I mean? But he's trying to do serious stuff in this movie. In this movie, he's trying to have commentary about evil, among other things. and, but it doesn't work because none of this feels real. No one's acting like a real person. All of this is incredibly stupid. It's not quite clear how stupid M Night Shyamalan thinks this premise is. I think because there's things that happen that feel like he's trying to go, see, it's clever because I set up this thing and I paid it off. And it's like, but M. Night, it's so stupid. Like it's supposed to feel clever, I think, when we find out that the wife actually set this trap for him because she suspected that maybe he was a monster or something. But everything about the way she does it is really stupid, and that makes me laugh. But I don't think the movie's trying to be funny there. I
No,
think
it's
the movie
not.
no, exactly.
He is pulling out some like attempts at serious emotive acting from Josh Hartnett and Katie from Devs in that
Yeah.
scene, and I'm just like, this is not fucking working, man. Like
No,
this is not
no.
working at all.
And his daughter had some like emotional moments where she's like being a hero and all that sort of stuff.
Oh
Like,
my God.
but so he's trying
Yeah.
to rely on like earnest character writing and dialogue writing, and like he's legitimately trying to make this a nail-biting thriller that's also kind of funny in the same way that Signs does try and have a commentary about everything happening for a reason and a belief in God and all that sort of stuff, but also a lot of it is really stupid, and there are moments in that are also intentionally kind of funny. It's always been a mixed bag for me. I want him to go more into the stupid, campy, goofy side because any insincere attempt to have a meaningful point never works in any of his later movies. Not since The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. You know what I mean? So, the fact that no one behaves like a real person in this movie is something I find ironic enjoyment in, but I don't think you can just say that like, oh well, he's not trying for that. It's like he is trying for that sometimes. I just don't think he gets great performances out of people.
No, well, and he doesn't. I did he write this? I can't like he wrote and directed this, right?
I'm pretty positive he did. It has his
yeah.
Shyamalan-ness all over it. I'm gonna check, but go ahead.
I was checking. I'm looking it up. Yeah, and yeah, he wrote it, and I think the problem really with that, right, is that like he's not only not getting great performances out of people, although Josh Hartnett is doing his darndest to make this, like to
It's
do something with
to
this.
clarify that point. It's like when he works with people like Joaquin Phoenix and Signs, it's like, well, they're gonna in Mel Gibson, like those are just good actors. You don't have to do a whole lot to get good performances out of them. Anyone who's not a great actor, a great director could maybe pull something better from them, but he can't do it. So
Yeah,
anyone who's not already stellar, he can't get a good performance out of them.
yeah, and his writing is very clunky. Right, like there, I don't think there's an
Very,
argument. Like
yes.
very, very clunky. I mean, it's very much, and I've said this like a couple times already, but like he writes like Darman, like with these insane, like over the top, like everybody just kind of says everything out loud, like,
Yeah.
and that's supposed to be like the parable, the message of the thing. But because they're all saying it in these very stilted, stunted kind of ways, it feels ironic and funny. But I
Yeah.
don't think the guy who's writing it, M. Night, thinks that way, right? I don't think he
No.
really truly believes it's an ironic thing, right? Like he thinks
No.
he's doing something here. So, like, yeah, it
And it's
just
and
doesn't
it's,
quite.
yeah, I totally agree. And it's confused and muddled slightly because sometimes he is trying to be funny and it works.
Yeah,
There are some legitimate like okay, you were trying to be funny and it landed. I was like, okay. Where there's like it's like a goofy shot or something like that 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 you wouldn't do unless you were trying to be a little funny. And Signs is full of those moments as well, especially with like these really wide angle close-ups of Mel Gibson's face and stuff
yeah.
like that. I don't know. There's an intentionality sometimes, but he's definitely he doesn't irony's not his thing really at all. Like he's rather genuine, which is why some of the stuff that I enjoy ironically works because he's not trying to be so bad it's good. It just comes out of him.
Yeah, so like, what would be an example of the movie being stupid and campy, but having the good emotional payoff? Like, but I think that's the problem, right? Is that it doesn't have a good emotional payoff. It's
It's trying
trying
to.
to, you
It's
know?
trying to like everything with his daughter like saving the day and like she's really connected and emotionally moved by trying to save these people and then his wife and moments with his daughter at the end like that's trying to be more serious.
Yeah,
And we're trying to explore how he became this way at the end of the movie in a way that's not at all coherent really with what came before, but like in terms of understanding why he ended up like this and whether monsters really do exist. That's something that comes up in this movie. You know,
yeah.
like that sort of stuff where he's trying to make a serious point. It's not all goofy, silly, stupid fun. Like
Okay, so here's a solid example of what and I'll jump ahead here. When he's about to flee with the singer, and his family stands in front of the car to stop him. That is made. That is. It seems very clearly meant to be this sort of like emotional payoff where he doesn't like he won't just run his family over in the car because
and he
he's like
talks about all the like everything he's done to try and separate these two parts of himself and separate these two lives he's living and all that stuff. Like it's not funny
no.
there. It's trying to be serious, but it's just not being very successful at evoking anything on an emotional level or a thematic level.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's trying to.
It really is. Yeah. It tries to at the end in the final conversation with the wife and him.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's really the part of the movie where it drags very
That's,
badly.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. That's what we mean by this. So like, there's a lot of campy, silly fun to be had in the first half.
Some of it intentional,
Some
some
of
of
it
it not,
intentional. Some
I
like
would say.
the right down the barrel of the lens shots, clearly intentionally funny, right? Like because
Yeah.
they work, you know.
Hmm.
But then yet the insanity of the plan, the the sort of slipshod way that he's trying to outsmart the police when there's really not a like logical good reason that this would need to require
Yeah.
smarts,
Yeah.
like that all is a flaw in the writing, and I don't think he understands that it. Like I really don't think he understands that none of it makes that much sense. Like
No,
it doesn't
the
feel that way.
flimsiness of the logic of this story is not something he's done intentionally because he knows it's silly.
Yeah.
He's gone to great lengths to try and convince you that this is actually rather clever in how it's constructed. But
But
it just doesn't work.
it does not work. Yeah.
Yeah. Um so eventually he convinces M Night Shyamalan himself. He says, "Hey, my daughter has leukemia. Don't ask her about it. She's just getting over it, by the way. But she prefer don't bring
Yeah.
it up.
Don't bring it
But
up. Don't bring
she
it up
has
because she
leukemia.
was really upset by it. She felt cursed to be cursed.
She felt chosen to be cursed." And so, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to come up for a Dreamer Girl segment?" And the daughter, of course, is like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life." And
Oh
so
well,
they go up.
she screams. She's like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!" And then we have a lot. I really just need to point out this because I know it's splitting hairs. But he goes, "Is that a yes or a no?" Because he has to give himself these lines where it sound like I was like, "Oh come on, man, you can we can speed this along. We don't need this. We don't need this
They've had
interchange."
they've had worse. They've had worse. There have been worse M Night Shyamalan cameos. I think Signs is
Science
probably
is
my
probably one of
Signs and
them. Yeah.
Lady in the Water are probably the
Oh
worst.
God. Well, there's
Signs,
not much worse than Lady in the Water in his repertoire. Like that is
yeah,
one of
it's
the.
one of the first movies I ever hated. I saw that in the theater, and I was like, "What the fuck was that? That was awful." Yeah, Lady in the Water, terrible movie. Um, so they get on stage and they're like, okay, so like they're hanging out backstage and like, all right, it's almost time to do the Dreamer Girl thing. You know what to do. Just go out there and it's not about being good, it's about having fun and being silly. And so she goes out there and she's dancing with Lady Raven, and this sequence goes on for ages. The only fun to be had in this sequence is when we cut to the girl that she used to be friends with, who I guess is also her bully, Jodie's daughter. And Jodie sees that, oh my God, that's Riley on stage, and she gets really upset at her mom because Riley's on stage and she isn't. And then they get into an
They
argument,
get
and her
into an
mom's
argument and they
like
scream
you,
at each other.
yeah, she throws her water in her mom's face. This is like Darman sketch levels as well.
Yeah.
With like the bratty child, it's very like Willy Wonka and how cartoony it is, but a little less realistic. Because I'm so confused by what the point is. It's like, oh, these girls aren't including me with things anymore, and that kind of hurt me. And it's like, no, this girl just seems like a little monster, and you probably shouldn't be hanging out with her at all.
Yeah.
Actually, like when we finally do see her, she's just a little cunt. Like
And
so.
that's it. Like she's gone. Like that whole little like subplot arc thing is just gone from the movie after this.
No, and it's not really even an arc, right?
Yeah.
Because they do that thing where it's like, if you've forgiven that person, hold up the light on your phone. So it's like, oh, the movie hinted that maybe we're gonna do something with that,
Well,
and
yeah,
then it
because they
doesn't.
introduce the mom as a character who's also at the fucking concert. Like,
Yeah,
but
you
they,
would think there'd be
they
some moment with her and the other girl, or something, or maybe you could do a thing where like, despite being a serial killer, he's actually a decent father to his daughter in some ways. Like that could be, I don't know, just interesting. Or maybe I don't know. This
well, I
this
mean, like, what you introduce? So, what if he like because he's a serial killer who's also a good dad to his daughter, right? And his fucked up sense of morality. What if like he's attempting to escape here, right? But then like he has this urge to kill the mother of his daughter's bully, and so like he's trying to like pull like, and you've made her this like absolutely insufferable bitch, right? Like
Mhm.
so like we now we're like, oh my god, he's gonna try to kill her. He's gonna try to kill her while he's also under surveillance and he has to escape. And like that like that could be a fun dark comedy premise to to go with, right? But like the only thing that we've got going here really that gets the serial killer aspect of him is that one time he sneaks away not to attempt to escape but to watch like a ring camera video of the guy who he has tied up in one of his safe house basements.
Yeah, he has a guy. He is some Asian gentleman. We don't know who he is or why he's targeted him, but he's just tied up in one of his basements, and he has rigged on his little app a way to start filling the room that guy's in with carbon monoxide to kill him. And we learn this because eventually he does get backstage and he goes into the dressing room of Lady Raven, and he's like,
Oh, he does. So he goes into the dress. Okay, so after the dance, the cops are coming up to the side of the stage, and that's when the one girl, another person faints, and he catches her and brings her into the medical tent, and goes and grabs her an ice pack and says, "All right, here you go. We're gonna get you some juice." And then that's when the EMT is just like, "He's a gem. Can we keep him?" Like,
and then the other lady's like, "You helped her," and she's like, "Yeah." And it's like, "Wow, thanks."
Wow, thanks, thank you. Like, wow, yeah. So they end up getting backstage, and Lady Raven comes out to meet. Well, Lady Raven comes out to meet Riley eventually. So the first thing that happens is he's wandering around. He sees all the SWAT back there. They're like panicking. They're like, "Shit, the concert's over. We haven't found the guy yet. Oh my God, this foolproof plan hasn't worked out. What are we gonna do?" And he hears Lady Raven talking to the head of the FBI, going like, "What do you mean you haven't caught him yet?" Like, so, as if she's in on the plan, like the mastermind, like, as well.
She's presented as if she's very emotionally involved in this and like part of masterminding it, instead of just like someone who's trying to help out and do the right thing, because they make it seem like she's going to be really emotionally invested, as if someone she knew was killed or something. But we don't do anything like that.
Yeah.
That would have been something at least. Like,
no, we don't do any of that. Instead, she's just kind of like, you could be forgiven for like having thought that like she came to them with this plan a little bit, like based on the way that we're going to characterize her later. But so she ends up, she's like coming out. She's like, "Okay, well, I'm going to go say goodbye to this person that I met on stage." She walks up to the two of them, the dad and her. We have some weird little cameo scenes of the Lady Raven's gay producer, who's a typical diva bitch who.
It was Kid Cudi.
Okay, gotcha.
A little cameo from Kid Cudi.
Well,
yeah, he's like a producer. He's another sort of pop figure.
He's called
singer.
the Thinker.
Yeah, and he like discovered her, so he comes out on stage and he sings a song, and he's got this ridiculous blonde wig, and he's very, very gay. He's funny. I liked him, and he's like always yelling at his assistant.
Yeah, those moments where he's in there, I was like, "Oh, okay, he's kind of a cartoon. It's kind of enjoyable." He's barely in any of the fucking movie. Like, he's completely,
no,
like,
unfortunately.
It's unfortunate they don't do more with that character.
There's a funny moment where he walks past Josh Hartnett and he kind of eyes him up and gives them the like "fuck me" eyes. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, no, that was funny. It's one of those moments where everybody in the theater kind of chuckled along with it, right?
Yeah, and that's clearly intended to be funny.
Yeah,
and so I think he does get points for that.
Yeah, but then so Lady Raven comes up to talk to Riley and her dad. And Josh Hartnett, like, right in front of his daughter, like barely 2 feet away, leans up to Lady Raven to like whisper in her ear. Like, this is not the kind of whispering that his daughter would not be able to hear. She's right there at his hip, right? And he basically whispers, he's like, "Can I talk to you? I know you've heard about my daughter's condition. Can I talk to you alone in your dressing room for a minute because of this?" And like then leans. She goes, "Yeah, I guess that's fine. Riley, you wait right here."
Fine. Why would that be fine?
Why would that be fine? Why would your daughter not look at you and go, "What condition?" What
if she heard? Like they're not far away.
They're not far enough away for this to be believable for me. Like she's right there. He kind of like halfway bent over. Like he didn't. They are right there, and then they walk off alone. And he reveals to Lady Raven, "Yeah, I'm the butcher. You caught me."
Yeah, he starts ranting about carbon monoxide and how great it is. As
like it's
something you can kill people with. She's like, "What?" And then he reveals that I'm the butcher. And he's like, "Look at here on my phone. I have this guy tied up, and at any moment I can press the button and fill the room he's in with carbon monoxide and kill him. You don't want me to kill him, do you? So what you're going to do is you're going to help me get out of here. You're going to invite us to ride in your limo, and then we're all going to get out of here." And she's like, "Okay," basically.
She's like, "You got me in a box. All right, shit." And so they basically just like instantly go like, "All right, they're clear. You can leave," because the random, like, of all the, And this is the part where I'm just like with the FBI in particular. It's like, okay, the FBI is looking for one adult male in this concert, right? And the one guy who they like, who basically like, like it gets to instantly leave for some reason. Like they wouldn't ask him any questions. They wouldn't be like, wait a minute, hold on, why do you want to get out of here? Like they wouldn't do that, really. If that's the whole plan, there's just like and I don't know that part. I was starting to get like, well, like really, why don't we just have him leave? He could just walk out. He can just lie. He's already got everybody else convinced. He's bumped into cops multiple
Yeah,
times and gotten out of it. Like
yeah,
there's no reason to believe that it's curtains for him if they stop him at the door to ask him a
yeah.
question. So like this
Especially
part
when he's
doesn't
right
even feel
next to Lady
necessary.
Raven. Yeah, it's totally unnecessary. None your business. Thank you for the super chat. Says I can't enjoy M Night movies at this point. I hate that he's still given the resources to produce them. It's gross to me. So M Night Shyamalan has made what two two legitimately really good movies, and
We're
then
talking Sixth
dud,
Sense and Unbreakable.
yeah, and then dud after dud after dud after dud, getting worse and worse and worse until eventually Split is the only. I think Split is the only reason we're still getting M Night Shyamalan movies of any sort of note and publicity. Split was kind of like oh, he's back. I haven't seen Split, but
Neither
that's
have
the one
I.
people like.
Yeah.
That's the one people actually think, oh, he's back, baby. M Night. He's made a good movie for once. I can't speak on that one. But then right after that, Glass. A lot of people seem to have really hated Glass. And then The Beach That Makes You Old. Um, Knock at the Cabin sucked as well. And now this.
Oh, The
So
Visit. Don't forget The Visit.
The Visit was right before Split, but yes.
Oh, right. Yeah. There were people who were talking about how. Well, I remember people talking about how The Visit was like, oh, yeah, it's not bad. People were saying like, oh yeah, yeah, he's back. At by that point, I remember hearing people say that.
The Visit, that's the found footagey one.
It's the sort of found footagey one where the kids go visit their grandparents who aren't really their grandparents. They're escaped mental patients from like who have tied like, and so like it's just old people are kind of creepy.
You know
Is the
what's funny is that even his bad movies, when you hear the premise described, you're like, actually, that actually sounds like it could be
like
fun.
yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that could be fun. He
I
just
think M Night Shyamalan is like proof that a good idea is worthless. It's all in the execution. Because every time I hear one of the premises for his stupid movies, I'm like, you know what? In the right hands, that could be good.
Yeah, well, and funnily enough, guess who thinks M Night Shyamalan is one of the best masters of the horror story?
Oh, Stephen King, because he has
Stephen
all the
King.
wrong takes. Yeah.
Yes.
You know how people joke that like Jim Cramer, like whenever he gives financial advice, you should do the opposite because he's that consistently
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
Stephen King is the same way with movie recommendations.
Yes. Agree.
If Stephen King,
Stephen
if
King would have hired M Night Shyamalan to do The Shining if
oh,
he
he
could
would
have.
have,
Yeah.
yes. If Stephen King, when he goes onto Twitter to say, "Oh, this horror movie's really good," it isn't. It's terrible, pretty consistently. Like that's like almost an ironclad rule of the universe at this point.
They seem like a match made in heaven, though, because like
They
if you
do.
go
They
and watch shit like fucking Dreamcatcher, it's like yeah, no, the dialogue in Dreamcatcher and the dialogue in Trap is on the exact same level. Like they
People
like
are telling me multiple sources have confirmed that Split was written back in the era of Unbreakable. Like he wrote it that long ago, which is
oh, that makes sense.
probably why it's not as trash as everything he's done since. So that would make sense to me. That kind of made people feel the same way his good movies did. Like, oh, there is something worthwhile in M Night Shyamalan still. That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, but yeah, in terms of I wouldn't have I didn't even go see Old, even though that looked like it could be stupid fun as well. I only saw this really because I have AMC A list and there was not a whole lot to see. But I thought maybe this would be so stupid it was funny, and it kind of was. It kind of was.
Parts of
But
it.
he'll never make a movie that's so bad it's good from like that I actually enjoy and would recommend to everyone because he just won't commit. He won't commit to the stupid. And he's never going to make anything like Unbreakable. Unbreakable is a pretty serious movie that manages to still be really good. He's never going to do anything like that again. I feel pretty confident in saying
Oh,
that.
he's like he'll never match The Sixth Sense. Yeah, yeah,
No.
it was kind of funny because when this one, yeah, when I was seeing the trailers for this one, of course they were billing him as like as he is wont to do. They were billing him as the master of twists and turns. I think that dialogue popped up, and I had this conversation with multiple people. And I was just like, twist. He had one that worked. The big one is the one that has worked. Like every other one, people meme on every other one. Like I really would not call back to the twist in Signs if I were you. Like that,
Yeah.
the twist that the aliens are allergic to water, so they walk around on a planet that's 70% water, buck ass naked most of the time. That's not a great twist, bud. Like
No.
it's really
It's
really
constantly
lame.
memed on, that twist.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like the first time people went, "Oh, he can't just keep doing this. Like he doesn't have infinite twists." Yeah. No.
Yeah.
In this one doesn't really what's the twist in this one? Would you say?
The twist in this one is that the actual trap is his wife's. His wife's the one who
Yeah,
sets the actual trap.
that's
That's the twist.
I guess it's a twist. What would have been more fun, and I heard someone in the audience that I watched this with say, "Oh my God, she's in on it." Uh,
Yeah.
when it like when the police left the wife and she's alone in the house again before Josh Hartnett shows up like Walter White does at the
At
end.
the end of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly. Before he shows up, she's just alone in the house, and I was like, and someone in the audience kind of whispered to themselves, like, "Oh, she's in on it," and I was like, "Oh, that could be a fun twist," because I was really losing interest in the movie because I was just waiting for it to end at that point, and I was like, that could actually rejuvenate the movie for me if she was in on it somehow, but no, nope, she just did the whole Taylor Swift ticket plant thing, even though she knew her own daughter would be at the concert, and he probably would be so desperate not to be caught that he would do something to put her in danger. She doesn't really care about her daughter all that much, apparently.
No.
Very cool. So,
Well, anyway, so they're
Go ahead.
riding out of the concert in Lady Raven's limo, and Riley's of course having a grand old time, right?
A whale
And
of a time, yes.
yeah, Lady Raven and Josh Hartnett are staring daggers at each other from across the back of the limo, from across the seat of the limo.
Yeah.
And Lady Raven,
pretty
it turns out, it is pretty. Lady Raven, it turns out, she's scheming. She's scheming a little bit because it looks like he has won. She is about to help him get away. All their efforts have been for naught. So she starts scheming a little bit, and so she basically takes advantage of Riley's cult-like devotion to her and says, "Hey, Riley, can I see your house?"
And of course Riley's like, oh my god, you're gonna come to my house, oh my god, it's amazing. And he's like, no, you could just drop us at a corner, it's fine. It's like, no, let's go to your house.
And no, let's go to your house. And Riley she's like, "Oh, I gotta call mom." And so she does, and of course there's like the little conversation. She's like, "Oh, mom, Lady Raven is my friend. I'm in her limo now. Can she come over?" Say yes. She doesn't care if it's clean.
I love
I did like that line because I'm like, that's exactly the kind of
She
thing.
doesn't care about the carpet, mom.
She doesn't care about the carpet, mom. Like come on. Mom said yes, we can go. And so they get they go to the house.
Really quick, Jen in the chat says he's shirtless for way too long at the end of the movie. I have no idea why.
Yeah,
I saw an article that said that was Josh Hartnett's idea. So
just taking his shirt off.
yeah, I saw something. I didn't confirm it, but it was just his idea to be shirtless, and I'm like, you know what? I'm for it.
Fuck it, dude. Like, cause well, I mean, we'll get there, but at the end that last conversation when he just starts unbuttoning his shirt for no reason, he's just like, I thought he was gonna get naked. I was like, is he gonna strip? Like, is that what's gonna happen?
It's an intimidation tactic. I mean, I assumed the logic was
I only
like,
kill nude.
You take off your clothes or your shirt so they don't get blood on them, kind of thing.
They don't call me the cock out killer for nothing.
He was really hoping that everyone would call him the cock out killer. They went with the butcher instead because they have little imagination. He was very disappointed by that. Anyway, so the Lady Raven starts making her own moves, like, oh, let's go to your house. And now that they're at the house and she's meeting the family and everything, and they're like, oh, like try some pie. We made pie to celebrate Riley's good grades that she got on her report card. And she's like, the family's acting nervous because like, oh my god, a pop star's in our house or whatever. And eventually Josh Hartnett's like, okay, you've stayed here long enough. You don't have to stay here to be polite. It's time for you to go. And she's like, oh, I could play a song on the piano. Like she keeps inventing these new reasons to stay longer.
Yeah.
And at one point, she grabs Riley's phone, like she's trying to find a way to send a message out to police.
She's trying to find a way to send a message out to police. Like we get this really obnoxiously long scene of her singing some shit song on the piano. Like,
yeah,
it is awful.
It's so
right?
long.
But it plays out in its entirety, and it is excruciating. But then she goes, "Oh, let's take a selfie." And Riley's like, "Oh, where's my phone?" She goes, "Use your dad's phone." And she grabs the dad's phone, takes a selfie, and he's like, "Excuse me, give me my phone back now, please." Like he starts acting like fucking crazy in front, and his family's like, "Dude, what do you like? Chill out. Like what's going? Like he's like, I need my phone. I need it. I need my." And so she runs to she's like, "Oh, I got to use the bathroom," and she gets up and runs to the bathroom with the dad's phone, locks the door, right? And then, so she, like, and he starts banging on the door, right? He starts banging on the door. You can hear them freaking out. Like, the wife is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you acting like such a
he's like
freak?
banging on the door, like, I need my phone. I gotta have my phone back. And he's banging on the door, like, come on, let me in. Give me back my phone. Which is funny, but in the logic of the story, it makes no sense. So, for one, they establish quite clearly, and everything that the profiler says is just treated as gospel. So the movie treats it like it's absolutely true that he doesn't panic. It's kind of his whole thing.
Yeah.
Is that he doesn't panic. And now in this moment, he's like actually freaking out when it doesn't really make sense for him. This is hardly, I mean, I know it's obviously more dangerous, but like him blowing his cover that bad by like banging on the door, like instead of trying to scheme and find some other way out of it or something, or
find some other way into the bathroom. You know?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I didn't really believe that. I didn't really believe.
He doesn't try to like pick the lock. He doesn't try to go around.
There's also an annoying shot where we see the door and it's clearly not locked.
Yeah,
like
that
the lock is in the wrong position. I'm like, guys, come on. How hard is it to get that right? It's an insert shot of the door handle, and you didn't think that like it should probably be locked and have her unlock it. So that was frustrating. But yeah, he's banging on the door. He's panicking and obviously like showing his hand way too much. And then, but she doesn't call the police, which number one, she does not call the police. What does she do with the phone, Hugh? What does she do instead of calling the police and saying, "Oh my God, I'm with the butcher. He's here at this house." What does she do instead?
She gets onto the butcher's app with where he's got the Asian man Spencer tied up right in the basement, and she starts talking to him through the camera and asking him where he is. She goes, like one of her first questions is, "Are you in a house?" There's a fucking washing machine and a dryer right behind him, you dumb bitch. Like, come on. Like, first off, how the fuck is he gonna know where he is? Like, obviously he doesn't know. He's in a basement somewhere. He's in a basement of a house. You don't have to ask, "Are you in a house?" Like, you get to the other questions already, like if this is where we're gonna go instead of calling the police, right? Like, we don't need this, the whole establishment of like, "Are you in a house? Do you know where you are? What can you remember of how you got there," right? And he goes, "Oh, I don't know, he put a hood over my head. I couldn't see where I was." She goes, "You have to have seen something. You have to have remembered something." And he goes, "Oh yeah, there was a broken lion statue outside, and the house had a blue door." Great. Okay, cool. Well, so you saw quite a bit, actually. Fine. And
I saw a lion statue, observed that it was also broken, and that the house had a blue door. If he saw that the house had a blue door, he probably could have identified more about the house, but that's fine.
That's fine.
Okay, so what does she do? Does she call the police?
Does she call the police and say, "Look for..." Yeah, no. She hops on Instagram Live and goes, "What up, chat? I need your help, chat. All right, guys, all of you in the area near Philadelphia or New Jersey, everybody who lives near there, do any of you live near a broken lion statue? And a bunch of like comments start popping up, and like there's like, oh
And they're
my
like,
god, it's
she
Lady
looks like she
Raven.
needs our help.
She looks like she needs our help, chat. Let's do it, guys.
This is not poggers.
And so a bunch of people, like, you see things popping up, and she goes, to everybody who just answered, is that broken lion statue near a house with a blue door? And somebody responds, yes. There's a house with a blue door just across the street from me. And she goes,
from a park and with the lion statue and all those details, yeah.
I got him. And she goes, all right, to the girl who just answered,
Which could be any of the people that answered, but yes.
I need you to get your parents and every other adult that you can and go into that house and free somebody who's in the basement of it, chat.
Just call the police.
Just call the fucking cops and tell them where you are. Because then, like, he doesn't even pick this. Okay. She opens the bathroom door after this.
Yes, she does, without calling the police. Okay, so for one, the only way he can kill this guy remotely is with the phone that you have in your hand. This guy is not in immediate danger. You know who is? You.
Yeah.
Here's what you could do. You could call the police and tell them where you are. That's what he's got to assume she's doing anyway. So if he was smart, he would just run. Well, he would just get in his car and drive away. Yes. That's because the person who knows where the butcher is with him and his family in his house with a phone and a bathroom he can't get into. And like, if he breaks in there and steals the phone from him and kills her, he'd have to kill his whole family. It's something he wants to do. He should just run. Like, that's all he really has.
Yeah.
Right? Because what she should be doing is saying, I'm with the butcher. I'm at his house. It's definitely him. Come to this address. This is where I am. All that sort of stuff. Nope. Doesn't do any of that. Instead, she goes on Instagram Live to try and find where this guy's being held in captivity, even though he's not in immediate danger, because she has the remote.
She has the kill switch, yeah. She has the remote for the carbon monoxide bomb.
I love that she just randomly, without any warning, goes on Instagram Live and someone knows exactly where in Philadelphia there's a lion statue and a blue door. And then she tells them, get all the adults you know, don't call the cops, get all the adults you know and go bust into this house where a serial killer is holding someone hostage. I'm sure there'll be no traps of any kind. I'm sure there'll be no, like, you won't be in any danger at all, I swear. Just go break in there for me.
Just imagine the 12-year-old who is watching this on Instagram Live going upstairs to tell their parents, hey, we've got to go break into the neighbor's house because this pop star on Instagram told me somebody's being held hostage in the basement.
I'd be like, no, honey, that's a scam. Like, yeah. What are you talking about? Oh man, this is a grooming scheme. Like that. Anyway,
she is Indian too, so
absurd. Just absurd in every respect. Doesn't call the police and then she exits the room. She leaves the bathroom. And
she opens the door to the bathroom and lets him in.
Yeah,
so that he can come in and go, who are you talking to? Who are you? Because he hasn't put two and two together.
Yeah, he hasn't put anything together. What he has done in the meantime is taken his family and locked them in the upstairs bedroom, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
He's somehow corralled them up there and locked them in.
Which we don't know yet, because she asks, what did you do with your family? And
yeah,
he doesn't say. So
we're like, maybe he killed them.
Yeah.
It's even stupider than that.
It is even stupider. He locked them in the bedroom and just expected they wouldn't be able to get out. Wait, like, I guess to be fair, he couldn't figure out how to open up his own locked bathroom. So, he's a firefighter. We established he's a firefighter. Why doesn't he kick down the door? I thought he was coming back with like an axe.
Moment. Yeah, exactly.
I thought, like, when it got quiet and then she's looking at the door and it does that slow zoom in, I thought I was about to see Josh Hartnett do a "Here's Johnny." And I was like, I was like a little bit like, oh, okay, all right, here we go. But like, that would have been funny, right? we get that like obvious moment. No, she just opens the door, lets him in. He looks at the video
Question.
and sees
I'm going to stop you really quick
okay.
because someone said that she does text her driver to call the cops. Is that true? I
I
don't
don't
remember
remember
that.
that.
If that is true, she could have just called them herself because that's obviously a bigger priority.
Yeah, like
Um, and
that's
obviously, like, why? What is her driver part of her security? Because why is their security not with her? This is
yeah, well,
someone who
yeah.
would have a security team.
She would have, well,
So,
and if she was like as in with the FBI director,
mhm.
or the one, or the profiler who set up this fucking scheme in the first place, why doesn't she call her and just go, "Hey,
Why isn't she more? Why isn't the FBI profiler more suspicious that a random man is like she's gonna go visit their house
yeah."
like after the concert?
He's convinced her to
He
just take a
fits the
ride out.
description for one. They like this is I don't know. You think they'd be more suspicious, but they're not. If she does text her driver to call the cops, that's slightly better, but not much because that's just what she should do. Step one: call the
Yeah.
cops.
Well, and like that's not how she gets away. Like the cops don't show up at, like before this happens.
Yeah.
Like
Okay. So now they're gonna get into he like puts his he's like I'm gonna put my finger on your shoulder and like my finger needs to be on your shoulder the whole time, and it's just kind of a funny way of going about it. And then they're walking to the car to get into the car, and they're like, oh, the profile was right about my car. I do drive like a black
oh,
SUV or
right. Yeah,
whatever.
she says that in the limo. She's like, "Oh yeah, we know he drives a dark car." And he
Dark,
goes, "Oh yeah, how
yeah,
do we know that?" And she goes, "Well, he's highly organized and those kinds of people like to drive dark cars."
because they're easier to clean is the movie's logic.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know about that one. Maybe.
I don't. It
They are
doesn't sound
easier to
right, but I don't
clean.
know enough about serial killers to dispute it.
Maybe. We'll give him a solid maybe on that one. So they get into the car and he like handcuffs her or whatever. Um, and they're about to drive out, and then his family is standing in the driveway in front of the car, like holding hands, like, we're not going to let you leave. And then his Daily Dose is pointed out they used the tree to escape. I never thought about my own house that way. That's an actual line he says. Because he is deduced the way they got out of the bedroom that he trapped them in was that they must have climbed down to the tree. And he has this moment where he says out loud, I've never thought about my own house that way. So we're meant to believe that this highly organized serial killer has so compartmentalized the two separate sides of the two separate lives he lives, one where he's killing people meticulously and the other where he has like a normal family, that he never considered when he locked them in that bedroom that maybe there's a way out through the tree. Like, okay, none of that was necessary at all, to be clear. You didn't need to say anything like that
Yeah.
at all. But anyway, he doesn't want to run them over. But what does he do instead, Hugh?
He just kind of lets her get out of the car, right? Like he just kind of she just leaves the car.
Oh, also, Mr. Burpler has made a good point. Black cars do expose dirt more. Definitely smudges, if nothing
Yeah.
else. Like silver can like kind of hide it. It kind of depends on the environment you're in, I guess. Like for example, if you're like I don't know somewhere out west in Colorado, or whatever. I was driving out there for a ski trip, and holy shit, the car got so dirty. Like if like with that sort of sludge from snow and stuff
Yeah.
like that. If you drive a black car out there, like you're fucked. That's not staying clean. And I think people do drive gray and silver cars for that reason. In general, they're kind of easier to hide dirt. So I don't think that works at all, actually. But it's a minor thing, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, like it's interesting, right? Because like they have the
Oh, it's like
they say it, and why do they? But why do they you expose that information? Like, why do they give you the audience that information, right? That he drives a black car. We see him driving at the beginning, but it's not like they're screening all the black cars that come into the concert, right?
No, they're
It's
not.
like it's literally just for him to be like, you're right, I do drive a dark car. This is my wife's car, so we're gonna take that instead.
It's useless. And the other thing, thank you, Daily Dose, for reminding me of this. I almost forgot how stupid it is that they go, I
Oh my
never
god,
thought
I
about my
never thought
own
about my own
house
house
this
that
way when
way.
he has like an escape tunnel.
He has
He has
an
an
escape tunnel that leads to the neighbor's yard.
Yeah. So like he ends up trapped inside the house, and he's surrounded by the police, right? And they're like, he it looks like he's given up is sort of the idea. But then, oh, it turns out they go in and he's not there because there's a secret escape tunnel that leads to the neighbor's yard. He's escaped and he's managed to get into the driver's seat of the limo that Lady Raven is still in because she's still there for some reason.
Yeah.
And then they drive away and he's like, haha, just kidding, it's me. You know?
Yeah. Is this where they show the video of the Asian guy getting abducted in the white van?
It's somewhere around here, and it's very funny. That got like really loud audible laughs from everyone in the theater because it was so silly. Can you describe it for the fine people in the chat?
It's a security CCTV footage, right? And it shows the Asian, like, there's a white van, like with a door open, but nobody visible in it, right? Like until you see a hand like wave the Asian guy over. It kind of just like he starts walking towards it, like slowly at first, whatever. He gets right to the door, right? And then the arm just reaches out and grabs him and like yanks him in, like.
And they do the classic shitty amateur horror thing where they just delete a couple frames to make it look faster.
Yeah.
Like that's really funny to me.
It's also not a dark. This is he's driving a white van to kidnap this guy, right? So
yeah.
The dark car thing doesn't fucking matter at all because that's they've seen his van.
Yeah. So it doesn't none of this matters ultimately. So he escapes, he ends up in the limo.
Well, how does he end up in the limo, Jamie?
I don't remember.
He walks up to the driver and goes, you take a break. I've got this shift. And just gets in.
He does. That like I totally forgot that he
dresses up like a SWAT officer and walks
he says,
up to the driver and says, I got it from here, and just takes the limo.
And the driver's like, fine, sure,
whatever.
He takes the limo, and then he's taking Lady Raven, and presumably he's going to go to one of his safe houses and kill her. They get stuck in a whole bunch of traffic because there's a bunch of people in the street on like a farmer's market or like an open market.
Like a First Friday or something like that.
Yeah,
he's driving through First Fridays in the middle of a downtown district, and there's a bunch of people in
the street. Could have gone a better way, probably.
Yeah.
But everyone's stuck, like there's nowhere to go essentially, and then
she's handcuffed in the back. She's handcuffed.
Yes.
So like this is where the tension's coming, because like otherwise you're like, well, why doesn't she just open the fucking door? Well, it's because she's handcuffed. He handcuffs her to the bar on the back, on the side of the limo door.
She's trying to reach for the thing to roll the windows down so she can yell help and all that stuff. Eventually she gets there, she rolls it down, she's like, you gotta help me, and everyone's like, oh my god, that's Lady Raven, because of course everyone knows who she is. And like Lady Raven's trapped in that limo. Oh my goodness. And so they kind of surround
the car. Like he honks once to try to get them to move, and they don't do it, right? And she, in the meanwhile, keeps jangling the handcuffs on the bar of the thing until it breaks off, and she just gets out of the limo, and she just stands there silently while everybody sticks their phones in her face. To take video or pictures. She doesn't say anything, right? She doesn't say, like, the butcher's in that car. Call the police. The butcher's in there. Don't let it leave, right? She doesn't say anything like that.
But eventually, police do show up, and they're like, get everyone away from the vehicle. So now they have the vehicle surrounded, and the crowd moves away.
There's a silhouette.
And they're all pointing their guns. There's a silhouette of a person inside the driver's seat, and they're all pointing their guns at him, and then they shoot. They shoot like with the intention to kill, which makes sense. And then when they opened the door, there wasn't a person in there. There was just a helmet on top of
like some boxes.
Yeah, it's like the vest, like the Kevlar sort of vest they wear, just stacked up like an old movie where a kid's trying to sneak out of the house at night, and he puts something
like Ferris Bueller.
Exactly. He somehow managed to do that and escape. No one saw him get out of the vehicle.
He got changed. Nobody saw through, because like you can see the silhouette of a guy in a helmet through the window, right?
So
nobody saw him through the window taking all the body armor and the helmet off, and then putting on new clothes, and then getting out of the car.
Yes. So to be clear to those who have not seen it, he's in a limo stuck in like like an open market, like
Like a
closed down
crowd,
street
surrounded by
traffic,
a
a
crowd of
crowd,
people.
yeah, surrounded by a crowd of people, and he stays surrounded by a crowd of people until the SWAT arrives and goes, "Everyone move away from the vehicle." Somehow he managed to become one of the members in that crowd and slink away and go unnoticed, even though
Everybody
everyone
is
saw
staring at
everyone
this
saw that she was being held captive inside that limo.
and came
Everyone saw
together
that.
to stop it from moving. Yeah, they're all looking right at him.
This is like in Furiosa, where she gets away from being hung by her arm,
Yeah.
even though she's completely surrounded by a gang of bikers who've been circling her for hours. No one noticed. It's that ridiculous.
And
It's
he puts
actually
the hoodie
impossible.
on. He puts the hoodie on in the crowd. So it's
Yeah.
not like he changed into a t-shirt. Like he changed into a t-shirt, set up the decoy, grabbed a hoodie, got out of the car, put a hoodie on, and nobody noticed that he had been in the car.
No one. It's just an actual plot hole, not even just absurd conveniences. Like M Night Shyamalan's really bringing his best game here. Like he's just straight up impossibilities that cannot happen are happening in this movie. It's pretty funny. So he manages to get away again. And where does he go this time? I can't
This is when he goes
remember.
home.
Right, he
Yeah.
goes home.
So
He
wait,
goes.
like we cut to the house, and the FBI profiler woman is with talking with the wife, with Katie from Devs, and
Yeah.
she says basically just like, yeah, we can, your children are safe, we can bring them back to you, like, do you want us to put you with them? And she goes, no, I don't want to be around people. And so they just go, all right, cool, we'll let you.
Really, really quick, Mr. Burpler says Furiosa's escape works better than Entrap. No, it doesn't.
It really doesn't.
They're both equal levels of impossible, retarded nonsense. Neither work. No, neither is better or worse than the other in this regard.
Yeah, they're
It's
equal.
the same situation essentially. It's actually probably even worse in Furiosa because it's supposed to be a big iconic character moment where she loses her arm, and it's totally wasted and useless. So it's probably worse in Furiosa, all things considered.
Yeah, given the import that it wants to put on it, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say. Yeah,
yeah,
they
probably.
don't. It doesn't work any better.
Um, and so yes, she's being told like, oh, we can make you safe. We can put you in a safe house or whatever. You can stay with your aunt or whatever. And she's like, no, I don't want to be around people. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to say. You think you would want to be around your family and
Your
loved ones
kids,
and,
your
and your
children.
kids, but she doesn't want to be around people for some reason. And that's when the lady next to me was like, "Oh my God, she's in on it." I was like, "Oh, is she? That could explain her weirdness, maybe. That could be an interesting, silly wrinkle."
Well, yeah, I
No.
mean, it could be. It's still like if that was the case, I would still question why the FBI lady is like, oh yeah, we'll let you stay here by yourself. Sure,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, of course it's stupid either way, but it could be funny stupid.
yeah, yeah.
Instead, it's just ridiculous, like insane stupid. So, she's staying there by herself, and then Josh Hartnett shows up, and he's obviously threatening to kill her, and she's like trying to buy time and all that sort of stuff. And he's asking her questions about like how we got caught and everything. And this is when we find out that she at first suspected that he was having an affair because of all his slinking around and late nights and all that sort of stuff. Eventually finds the safe house where he just goes to think and stuff, finds a house in his name that, has all his stuff. And so she leaves this ripped up ticket to this concert there, hoping that the police will find that and then maybe catch him while he's at the concert. We've already talked about how stupid that is. But this is treated as a big reveal that, like, oh, she did suspect that something was amiss and tried to have him caught. So
Yeah.
that's her big character moment. And we're trying really hard to make this.
And this is when he
moment-
starts just taking his shirt off. Like he's
Yeah.
like, ah, fuck it, because she says that like the smell of cleaning supplies on his clothes tipped her off, right? Like that was a big tip off. But he takes his shirt off and grabs a cleaver and comes over and he's basically just like, I'm gonna have I'm gonna have to kill you, right? And she essentially goes, well, before you kill me, let's finish this pie that we made for our celebration.
Yes.
And he just goes, okay. And like walks back to the kitchen table while she prepares the pie, right? And she puts
Yeah.
it down in front of him and he's just like, I'm going to eat this, and he's like, this won't delay anything. I'm going to finish this in 5 bites, which is a really funny line to me. Like
Yeah,
he's just, like he's
yeah.
so he's such a like a weirdo. But then like he's eating the pie. I think doesn't he only take
Oh,
like 4
sorry.
bites or something?
It was pointed out that they don't go home. She follows him to the safe house where he goes to think.
Yeah. And he points out he's just like that's not even the one where I kill people. That's like the place where I go to think. Like why would you like?
Yeah,
It's like
he mentions that like all these vacant houses he uses have all been condemned due to fire codes. That's how he finds out about them. And I'm
yeah,
like, I don't. Sure, we'll go with a
yeah,
solid
fine,
maybe on that
whatever.
one. Whatever. And so, and somewhere in here is when we show how we captured Spencer. It's very,
This
very
is really
funny.
funny.
And so she tries to buy herself time with the pie, and wouldn't you know it, she poisoned the pie with the same stuff that he used to sedate people? Question mark.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, is this the same thing you used on all those people? And he goes, just to calm them.
Yeah. And so, like, just
Like just to calm them. Like, gee, why are you being such a bitch about this?
exactly. And then, and so you would think that would sedate him, but it doesn't really. It just makes him a little woozy. And then the SWAT people show up. As at one point, like, oh, then he starts talking to a weird vision of his mother.
Yeah, well, he starts because he hallucinates his mom. Like he had a bad relationship with his mom, and so he hallucinates her, throughout the
Yeah.
movie, right? And
And
he stands up and starts like wobbling around like he's on fucking fentanyl, like he's on the verge of passing out, right? Like
yeah.
he's about to go down. And he
Please keep that in mind, folks in the chat, that he is
yes.
like on the verge of collapsing from whatever he's been sedated with already.
Yes, he is stumbling and staggering, and he is shirtless, and he is walking towards the door where he thinks the vision of his mother is. And like
And
Lady
then,
Raven has tried this before too, where she says stuff like,
oh yeah, we need to talk about that
"Yeah,
first. So while they're in the limo at first,
no, it's in the car in
no,
the
right,
garage,
right, right,
the
right,
car in the
right.
garage."
Sorry, car in the garage, and she's trying to appeal to him by playing the part of the mother, sort of apologizing for all that she did to punish him, and like trying to appeal to his good nature,
She
but
does
like
a
you
red
could be.
dragon thing where she's just like,
Yes.
you need to be punished, like she tries the red dragon, like you're just a stupid little boy who peed his pants.
Yeah, she tries to appeal based on the profile that she was given by the FBI lady, tries to talk to him like she's her mother and thinking that maybe that'll be a way of getting through to him. And I kind of like that it just doesn't work. And he's like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work. I know what you're trying to do. And then
But
there's a
it kind
line
of
in
does
this.
work because he stalls out on it. Like
Yeah, it throws him for a loop. It doesn't cause him to change his mind or to let her go or anything, but it does kind of go like, hmm. It gives him pause, which is something, I guess, and maybe that's enough to delay it so that his family can come block the path. But whatever, it doesn't ultimately disarm him, but it does kind of throw him for a loop. And then there's a part where M Night Shyamalan's trying to make a point about something where she's you're not a monster, there's no such thing as monsters, and he goes, yes there is. And I'm like, what are we doing?
like,
What are we
what the fuck are we doing here?
what we're trying to have a point now? We're trying to say something meaningful? Stop it. Go back to the silliness. So she tries to use the profile to talk to him like his mother. It doesn't work. Eventually the FBI lady, um he's hallucinated because he sees the silhouette of an old woman in the door, the open door to the safe house.
That looks
And
like
he's the mother he's been
hallucination of his
hallucinating.
mother that he's
Yes.
been yeah, and it's doing the same thing, right? Like I forgive you, son. I'm sorry. I was such a bad mom. That kind of like it's that level of dialogue, basically.
It's that level of dialogue. It is slightly different. It takes more of like a warmth, like apologetic sort of tone.
Yeah.
Um, and it's sort of the movie treats it like, oh, that's what he needs to hear to like disarm him or whatever, or to distract him at least. It's revealed that the FBI lady is the one playing this part, and that kind of distracts him long enough for the FBI to shoot him with tasers.
But
Right?
he walks through like the what would you call it? The the archway, the divider between the kitchen and the living room, and there's two
Yeah.
FBI agents on either side who just start tasing him. They hit him with tasers
Yeah.
immediately.
They hit him with 2 tasers immediately. Now remember, he was about to like stumble and pass out from whatever he's been sedated with, and then he gets hit with 2 tasers,
At
and
once.
he is basically on PCP in this scene. He gets hit with like maybe 3 or 4 taser like doses, blasts, whatever you would say, and he just tanks all of them.
And he runs at the one FBI agent and tackles him and starts gouging out his eyes
Yes,
with his
that was
thumbs.
pretty. That was pretty fun.
He roars like it's straight up like Godzilla absorbing the radiation, and it's like it only made him stronger to electrocute him, and then they keep trying.
They keep shooting him with tasers. Okay, I wanted to make a point of this earlier because when he was in the limo, they just shot at him to kill
Yeah.
him, and now they're only using non-lethal modes of disarming him. They just fucking shoot him, dude.
He's
Shoot him.
butchered 12 people.
Just shoot him.
Shoot
He's
him.
coming at you. He just gouged another police officer's eyes out. Just shoot him. In any real life situation, they would have just shot him. All right?
Yeah.
Like obviously. Like that's more fitting with the stereotype of American police officers anyway. And that's what they should have done in this situation. Just fucking shoot him. But they hit him with, I want to say, at least 4 tasers.
It's
and
a lot of tasing.
he tanks all of them, and it's like you said, it's almost like it makes him stronger. It's almost like the movie's logic is like he was being sedated, and now this is like an upper that like jolts him back to hell. He's supercharged, exactly. Think Daily Dose says he's supercharged now, and so he gouges the one guy's eyes.
So Daily Dose is saying too, I really thought at this point that it might get tied into glass. I thought for sure when he got supercharged by the tasers, I was like, this is a sequel to Split again. This is like he's gonna be like we're gonna do another one. He's like the villain, the butcher, and they're gonna have like a little M Night Shyamalan verse Avengers team that takes him down, right? Or like a Suicide Squad. I for sure thought that was coming.
Yes. Okay, so they have 0 evidence he's the butcher, though.
Like they have a confession.
They have some evidence, but it's not.
Yeah.
Well, but
Lady Raven, who is
should...
clearly a officer of the law, in addition to being a pop
well,
star.
okay, let's say what they do know. This is the safe house that they know is tied to the butcher. Don't ask me how they know that, but they know that. This is where they know that this is the butcher's safe house, and he comes here. And he kidnapped Lady Raven or whatever. The main reason you shoot him is because he just gouged a police officer's eyes out. That's the reason you shoot him. The evidence that he's the butcher is kind of like irrelevant at this point. Like he is a threat. The taser gave him more energy, not less. You need to shoot him with a gun. You need to put a bullet in his head. That's what you need to do. And so like that's kind of irrespective of any evidence about him being the butcher, but to your point, they still don't really have a lot of evidence that he was the butcher.
Yeah, like all they he did. So
they have
he
his
confesses.
phone?
He confesses to Lady Raven in private, right? But like he confesses to his wife in this situation where like she's clearly helped the FBI set up this second trap, right? Where she's gonna lure him in and drug him with pie. And then, so he confesses to her right there. They're outside the house, right? Like, she's wired, right? Like, she's got to be. They weren't going to let her die.
Okay. Yeah. So this is no trap. So like, just kill
Maybe
him.
They were. I don't know. Maybe they
need
didn't
to kill
wire
him. I don't know. It doesn't really.
So
ultimately matter.
It doesn't matter. He's the butcher. We know he's the
He confessed in private to people. Like the audience knows, so the movie's like everyone knows it's definitely him. But either way, he just gouged a police officer's eyes out and is just tanking these tasers. So just kill him. But they eventually capture him, right? Isn't that what happened?
They get him. They capture him.
They get him.
Like they put his shirt back on.
Just say cover that shit up, dog. No one wants to see that. And so, and then the movie drags again because there's this long sequence where, like, first of all, they bring Riley back to the scene of the crime before he's even left.
He's even gone, and then they don't even make an effort. Like, so, the cop, she runs up to him, right? Like, to give him a hug, and a SWAT officer tries to stop her. And it's implied that either she is so strong that she can just run right past him and get, like, regardless, or that he can't stop a 12-year-old girl.
No, it's even worse. The FBI agent says, "Let her go."
That's right.
Yeah, so
Oh my
he's
god.
about to stop her, which is what you should do. But then the FBI agent is like, "No, let him have a final moment with his daughter." Why?
Let him have a final moment with his
Why?
daughter, and like his daughter wants to have this final moment with him, because even though she's just discovered that he's actually a brutal fucking serial killer who has butchered 12 people, she still
And
wants to give him a farewell hug.
she wants to give him a farewell hug, even though he also tried to murder her idol
Yeah.
as well. So there's that. This it's so stupid. But then as he's finally being led away, it might have been right before that moment actually, because we've
It is
established
right
that he's
before the
kind of
moment, yeah.
but he's like mildly OCD. He likes to straighten things and he's very organized and all that. He sees a bike tipped over and he's like, just a moment. And he just takes the bike and puts it back on its wheels, right?
Yeah,
It's got training
he
wheels.
puts it up.
He
It's
stands it up.
lying on its side, and he stands it upright. And they're all looking at him. That is a very important thing to note.
They're all watching him,
They're
of
all
course.
watching him like hawks because he just gouged their colleague's eyes out and he tanked 4 taser shots. They
Yeah.
are keeping an eye on him. And then the daughter runs up at the end. They
Yeah.
let her go. Let her have a moment with her dad. And she gives him a hug and says goodbye. And then they lead him into the paddy wagon alone. They put him in the back of the paddy wagon alone.
Alone.
Not under watch, like how they had with Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. They got a bunch of people sitting in the back with him to keep an eye on him. None of that.
Mhm.
They let him in there alone, and so I thought I was like, at this point, I was like, oh, the daughter slipped him something to get him out of there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she slipped him a lock pick or something that he can
Something
use,
stupid like that.
like a bobby pin, and he's gonna get out of here with whatever. No, it is revealed at the end that while he was being watched like a hawk by these fucking these cops who are leading him to be, taken to jail for the rest of his life, to possibly, whatever, he managed to rip a bike spoke off of one of the tires and hide it up his sleeve. And then he pulls that shit out and picks the lock on the handcuffs.
And he starts laughing, almost as if to say, like, he can't believe what just happened either. There's a laugh he gives that, like, it's a meta sort of laugh that he can't believe the writer has let him do this either.
And it would be a lot more terrifying if those things didn't lock from the outside and he actually had a way to escape. Like, what's he going to do? Like, they're going to open the doors and he's going to be surrounded by 20 cops and he's going to be out of the handcuffs.
He's gonna punch them all in the dick and he's gonna run away.
He has a secret tunnel. He has a secret tunnel out of the paddy wagon. They're gonna open it, and he's just not there.
I mean, why not? Why not? With everything else in this movie, when the paddy wagon arrives at the police station or the jail or whatever, they're gonna open that door and he's not gonna be in there. Like, that's what would happen if this movie kept going. There would be no thought about how he gets out. He would just be gone.
How did he escape? Oh my goodness. He must have
He must have escaped.
He must have escaped.
Yeah.
He must have escaped. And that's the end of the movie. Well, it's not the entire end of the movie because then the credits start rolling.
The credits start rolling, and then there's a mid-credit scene where we go to the T-shirt merch sales guy, and he's at home watching the news, watching a newscast about how they caught the butcher.
And remember, he's kind of obsessed with the butcher, so he's tuned in. He's like, oh man, this is great.
And then the butcher turns out to be Josh Hartnett, and he has a little moment like, oh my god, I helped him.
Oh
my
shit.
goodness.
Oh my goodness. I'm never talking to people at work again.
The end.
Yeah. And it's over.
And that's Trap. It's one of the more contrived movies I've ever seen in my life. It's quite the compliment. It's quite the feat. It's really quite impressive how stupid this movie is.
Yeah.
And how
it's
nothing holds together at all. The basic premise is flawed. Every little twist and turn makes no sense. It's very funny.
It's really, really funny. and then at the same time, it's just kind like, especially at the end, like it sounds a lot funnier when you sum it up quickly. It's really boring.
There are
Everything
yeah. There are
from
long sequences because we kind of glossed over them, but like when he goes to talk to his wife, that conversation drags on. When they're in the home with the pop star and she's going to play a song on the piano and all that stuff, while we're waiting for like the next move to be made, there are these long stretches of hyper boredom.
yeah.
And then it's like punctuated by really stupid, silly, campy fun. But there's long sequences where you're just listening to mediocre pop music, and it's just,
Or like, or really bad expository dialogue, like really
yeah,
clunky, poorly written expository speeches by these actors who are trying really hard to make them feel serious, and it's just not working. Yeah,
no,
like it really, like that scene where, like, the line where he says, this pie, this pie won't delay things very much, I'm afraid. I'm going to finish it in 5 bites. It could be funny, but it's
yeah,
not delivered in a way that like lends it a lot of comedic value. It's more funny that it's like you thought that was like a serious moment when you wrote that. Like you wrote that and didn't cut it. Like
I don't know. I don't know. I think one of the big problems with how boring the movie is the pacing, because I think I said it at the beginning, but I think it was a major mistake to not have most of the movie take place in the venue, in the
yeah,
arena itself, because they spend so long out of it. Because the whole premise of the movie is that they set up a trap for a serial killer at a concert. And so the main question is, will he get out of the trap? And he does. And then there's just a series of other traps. But basically, the main dramatic question of the movie has been answered already. And so, like, it can run for a bit longer, for sure. Like, as, like prolonging it a little bit, where the singer is making her own moves to try and outwit him. But then it just goes and goes and goes, and then he's caught, and then he gets out, and then he's caught, and then he gets out, and then he's caught, and then he gets out. It's like, oh my God, just end
just end.
already.
Yeah,
It's
like
a
move
very
it
long
fucking
hour and
along.
40 minutes.
Yeah,
Very long.
it feels excruciating, but like it really is just like unbearable by the end. Like that there's going to be another twist of him getting out somehow, right? And like, and especially by the time he gets out of the driver's seat of the limo, that like there's no point. Yeah, like he's gonna get out of whatever it is whatever it
Yeah.
is, right? Because they'll literally just let it happen, even if it makes no fucking sense. Like even if
Yeah.
there's no possible way that this could happen, it's gonna happen. So you just kind of have to you lose all interest really in like the stakes of the movie, because it's just like, well, he's just gonna, like, he can just literally teleport, like he can just vanish from the front of the car. Like,
Yep.
there's no tension in it anymore.
Yeah, he never thought about how his family could get out of that room by climbing down a tree, but also he's thought things through enough that he has a secret tunnel built into his house. So literally anything can happen at any time. The movie's just like, trust me, if he got caught trying to exit the building, they would have gotten him for sure. That would have been the end of his story, even though he could have just lied and just pretended to be a normal person, which he's pretty good at doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Well,
mean, in the movie's logic,
in the movies, like the
lo-
movie, yeah, the movie believes, like the movie tells you that he's really good at lying and charming people, right? Like he's a gem. Can we keep him? Wow, you're such a
Mhm.
great dad of the year over here.
Yeah.
Like,
Dad of the year.
yeah, like he calls him that when he comes back for the T-shirt. He goes, "Oh,
Yes,
hey,
he does.
dad of the year," and like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what's even crazier about that is, right? Like it sets it up as if it's going to be a payoff, right? Where he's like, "Oh, come back and see me in 10 minutes. I'll make sure I put one aside for you," right? But then he comes back in 10 minutes, and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, well we got to go pick him up. I got to leave my post here and go pick the T-shirts up out of the back." So it's
And
like,
that's all. It's all just an elaborate way to draw out. Eventually, he gets the pass from him.
yeah,
He gets the pass when he goes to like reach up, and they do a little like bait and switch. Like, oh, is he gonna kill this guy? Because you don't really understand anything about the character as a killer at this point. You're like, does he just kill everyone, or does he have a really specific methodology? Because he gets him alone in this back storage area,
and the
and
guy
there's a
hands him an
box
X-Acto
cutter.
knife.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so we're like, oh, is he gonna kill this guy? Is that the kind of movie where I just love killing, and he's just gonna kill anyone whenever he gets a chance? No, it's like a weird bait and switch that amounts to nothing. All he really gets out of it is the card, which he could have swiped earlier,
Yeah.
frankly.
Well, and why wouldn't you do that? Like, there's a line in the trailer that it does end up showing back up in the point where he's talking to Lady Raven as they're in his wife's car getting ready to leave. But he says, "I'll just do this one more, and then I'll be done." Right? Then I'll kill. Like then I'll be done. I'll leave. And then
Yeah, oh, that's thank you for bringing that up because that's a perfect example of the movie thinking they're doing something with him as a character and like thinking that they're doing something meaningful with his psychology and why he's killing people, but it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's so pointless. Like why would that be? Why would it be like, oh, just one more and then I'll get over my maternal issues? Like what are you even trying to say? I don't
like
understand.
he's a regretful killer. Like he's like you're trying to do the thing where it's like he doesn't want to do this, but he feels compelled. Is that like what you're trying to explore?
I,
Because he
I
doesn't.
never got that vibe because he
Yeah.
seems so cold-blooded and kind of gleeful and like he's kind of having fun, you know?
Yeah.
So none of it made any sense to me. Like when he goes to talk to Lady Raven and he's talking about how great carbon monoxide is, like there's a fun energy he brings to it where he's getting off on it a little bit. And so later when he's like, I just gotta kill one more, it's like, why? What are you talking about? Why would this person think that one more and then I'll be done? Butchering people? Why,
Yeah.
what?
Well, and yeah, butchering people, but like killing them with carbon monoxide, and then just sort of yeah. I mean, like
And then cutting them up.
cutting
It's
them up
very
into pieces. It's
strange.
a straight like. It,
Incoherent.
it would have been like I was kind of hoping like he was gonna be running around the fucking concourse
Just killing people.
killing people.
Yeah.
You know, like fucking killing people, like because he can't control himself, and that's like, and then you know, it's a cat and mouse game. Them trying to track down like the cops are trying to keep everybody, you know, not panicked, right? Like not reveal that there are employees being killed. Like you know, like that. That's what I was sort of hoping for, right? Is like a slasher movie in a slasher movie in a concert venue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a slasher movie for sure. It's a little cat and mouse sort of thing, but like there's so little actual killing and stuff like that. So what you get instead of him killing people, it's like him pushing a lady down the stairs, or like him throwing the jars of oil into the fryer so they explode in that woman's face. And that stuff is kind of funny in its own right to me. Um, but it's definitely not as exciting as if he was actually just going around killing folks.
Yeah.
A couple questions people have put in the chat. Did we talk about how the dad and the daughter don't have to yell into each other's ears when they're at a concert? Yeah, the movie plays fast and loose with how loud one of these concerts would be. There's a little bit of like talking a bit louder than normal speaking volume, but not really. Like these places the concerts are so loud,
Yeah, especially
you
in an
know?
arena full of fucking 20,000 people. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
nuts. There's also the fact that the seats are filled, but it's also packed in the concourse at the same time while the music
Yeah.
while the performer is singing.
Yeah, someone else, Mr. Burpler, points out correctly that it just feels like a baseball game. Like people are
Yeah,
just coming and going because it's a long, slow thing. There are breaks between innings. There are like half times and intermissions, sort of thing. None of the things that you would get at a pop concert. Like the biggest break in any sort of like pop concert is in between the opening act and the main act, if there is one, and like a small, very short break before the encore. Like that's it. Otherwise, it's just music, 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 music. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It's
There's
a
no,
full like you don't. Yeah, there's no break. There's no break.
no.
If they take breaks, right? Like I think I saw Bon Jovi at like a concert once, and it's just like if the guitarist needs a break, they have the drummer play a solo for a little while, right?
Yeah,
And that's
or
just because
they
like
do a
they're old.
song where the singer just plays the guitar, plays piano, or whatever, and
Yeah,
that's it is just because they're old. Yeah, they went to
yeah,
the beach that makes you old. Um, yeah, and if you're at one of these concerts and like you go to the bathroom when it's a song you don't like quite as much. You know what I mean? Like that's there's no we only have a few minutes before they set up the stage for the next song. It's like that's not how it works.
no, like because that kills the vibe. That kills the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah, it's
Anyway, he doesn't care about any of that stuff,
no.
even though you would think that was the whole inspiration. for the story and the setting.
Yeah.
But
When like it gives you a ticking clock, right? Like if you do it right, you've got the pop act that's going to go for a couple of hours, right? And so he's got 3 hours to figure out how the fuck he's going to get out of here, you know?
yeah, he's got basically a movie's length.
Yeah,
Well, it almost seems tailor made for this sort of thing.
yeah,
Um, Jen says no one dies in the movie, 0 stars. Yeah, does
yeah.
anyone die?
No,
The lady that got pushed down the stairs, she seemed to not be dead yet. The lady that got burned, she might survive. The police officer who got his eyes gouged out, that probably wouldn't kill him necessarily. I don't think anyone died. Like
a movie
no
about a
one,
serial killer trapped in a concert and nobody dies. Like a movie about a serial killer and nobody dies on screen. Like that's a little bit. It's just a little lame, man. It's kind of boring.
what was this movie rated?
It got to be PG-13, right? Like,
What was it? It is PG-13. Yeah,
yeah,
and it feels like it. I mean, I enjoy watching him push people down the stairs, but if you're expecting something with a bit more teeth because it's a serial killer cat and mouse game, you're not going to get it from this. Not at all.
yeah, it's
Inspir- the inspiration for this movie was to launch the daughter's music career.
well, yeah. I mean,
Kind
like
of, kind of.
if you look at the trailer, right? Like when like it's playing on the screen right now, but like at the end, it'll pop up with like right at the end, it says featuring original songs by Salika as Lady Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
which
obviously that's a big
is a
part of
big
it.
part.
And the premise is a big part of it, but then I'm not even convinced that that was the main thing because we spend so long like pushing past that to get to this final act where we're not even at the concert venue anymore. This is not like a bottle episode type story where everyone's trapped in a location. You would think it would be because of the name, but no, no.
No,
Like it would be, I don't know, it would at least be more interesting if the whole thing took place here and then it's just does he get out at the end or not.
yeah, it would be,
There's a
but
lot
it's
of
like
problems to fix, but that we spend a whole chunk of the movie well after they've left the venue is a problem.
yeah, and it's just really like, and it's
And the music sucks.
the
It's
music
just
sucks.
lame.
The
It's lame.
pacing is really bad. The comedy is fits and spurts. You know, like it's just not.
Fits and spurts. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the. It's a little bit like the Australian breakdancing routine. You know, like
Yeah.
tie it all the way back at the
The
beginning.
best
Yeah,
part is Josh Hartnett camping it up, having a fun time, knowing that this movie needs to be funny or else it'll have no value at all. So he's doing his best, and God bless him.
yeah.
That's about it.
That's
That's
all.
about it.
That's all we got. There's a couple of really funny moments that I like. You know, I was like, oh yeah, great. This is the kind of thing that I'm here for. But not enough. Not
Not enough.
enough.
No. I've had worse times at the theater recently, but it's still not good. Not something I'd recommend to most people.
There were a couple people in my theater, man, who were eating this shit up. Like there, the guy and his girlfriend next to me, to my left. His girlfriend was really feeling it, and he was not. Like he started cracking up, like like, and you could tell she was getting kind of upset with him. But like he
That's
started
funny.
laughing, and then I would start laughing because it's like I'm like you and me, we know what's going on here.
Mhm.
We know what's happening.
This is something to be laughed at, not something to be hooked by.
Yeah. But like, yeah, the aesthetic of Lady Raven doesn't make any fucking sense,
No.
really. Like, he doesn't design a believable pop act for her.
No.
It's just not good, man. Not good, and
Nope.
it's not funny enough to save it. It's a
Nope.
weird, mediocre ego project.
Yeah. He's got a lot of those.
Yeah.
M Night.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
this movie when I saw the trailer, this movie gave me the hope that like maybe it would be so bad it's good and that maybe one day he'll give me a thoroughly enjoyable and consistently enjoyable so bad it's good movie, but I've kind of lost that hope now. Now I'm convinced that he can't even provide that for me. There's nothing left for me in any M Night Shyamalan movie.
How does he
Even
keep making, like, how does he keep getting money to make these things?
Well, one assumes that they make money. Now, I know that the budget, the reported budget on this one is 30 million, and so far it's only made 28, if I'm not mistaken. Let me confirm that. If I go to yeah, it seems to have underwhelmed so far. So I don't know. I guess uh, they must be like eking out a profit. Otherwise, I don't understand because this is a Warner Brothers movie. This is not just some like this isn't Francis Ford Coppola self-financing Megalopolis because no one will touch it. This is something that clearly studios are invested in throwing money at.
Well,
Because
apparently he has been self-financing his own movies.
really,
That that seems to be.
with like a distribution deal in place or something, because uh,
I have no
everything I'm
idea because so here this is the response, right? It says, how does M Night Shyamalan keep getting money? Is a snarky question about a guy who self-financed his most recent movies and keeps making profitable ones. The Visit had a budget of 5 million and it made 98 million at the box office. Split had a budget of 9 million and made 278 million at the box office. Glass had a budget of 20 million and made 257 million. Old
yeah.
had a budget of 18 million and made 90 million.
Okay, yeah, so they've been making money.
Yeah.
That's the short version. I didn't realize The Visit was such a big hit, but it was also pretty cheap to make
Yeah.
because it's got that
It's like a
that
found
found footage
footage
thing. Yeah,
sort of
I know
thing.
that I know that Split was really popular and that as a result, Glass, like a lot of people went to see that, even if they really didn't like it. That was a lot of people were excited about that because it was like, oh, the return of the Unbreakable stuff. And a lot of people were let down by that, but it made a lot of money. I don't know about Trap and what's it called? Knock at the Cabin Door, but I'm also not convinced he's entirely self-funding them. That just
That doesn't make all
doesn't
that.
sound right. But like this was distributed by Warner Brothers, obviously. Like Megalopolis is, I think it might still be looking for a distributor. I don't know if it actually has one yet.
Yeah,
So
Knock at the
that,
Cabin.
that
Well, Knock at the Cabin was not a huge success, but it had a budget of 20 million and it made 54 million. So like
okay,
he's
yeah, that's
falling off, right? Like he Split is his high watermark lately.
yeah. Split was what rejuvenated his career,
Yeah,
essentially. And like, cause man, he was really falling off hard after that. Like, I don't know if anyone saw Devil.
I did actually. I saw Devil.
Did you see Devil?
I
Well,
did. So Devil's interesting. Devil's not actually him.
it's not. He
No,
wrote it.
no, he didn't. He didn't write.
Yes,
He
he did.
wrote. He wrote
Oh,
the short
he wrote
story.
the story.
He wrote the
Okay.
short story. He didn't write the screenplay, and he didn't direct it.
Okay.
Um,
I was just looking at his writing credits. Okay.
yeah. Um, and Devil actually isn't like Devil. I mean, it's not great. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. Like
Yeah.
it literally is like a Twilight Zone episode. It's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. So like the big duds he had right before that, since he didn't do Devil, so after Signs was The Village, then Lady in the Water, The Happening, The Last Airbender,
Oof.
After Earth. Now I
That's
know
a
that
bad string of movies. Holy shit.
horrendous string of movies. Now, After Earth was a major flop. We know that for sure because the exact figures were leaked in the Sony leaks in the Sony hack. I've seen that. I think it's actually one of the biggest flops Sony had in that entire period. Like that lost a ton of money. And so, what happens after the debacle that is After Earth? 2 years later, he does The Visit on a very small budget and makes a ton of money doing it. And
Yeah.
so he's back, baby. And then Split, he uses that script that he wrote back when he knew how to write, and people like it again. And all of a sudden, he's back. And so since then, even if he's been trailing off in profitability, he's still making a profit because people have been convinced again that he's back, that
Yeah.
he's capable of making a good movie. I think that will wane more and more as we go.
The Reddit thread that was talking about like all of that, like, oh, he's self-financed his recent ones, like after The Visit and everything. He's self-financed all those and he's been making profitable ones. Those people are like, oh, everybody's so triggered about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Not all of his movies are that bad. His best movies are S tier in their respective genres. I don't
No,
know what the fuck you're talking about, man. What
no.
his best movies are Unbreakable and The Sixth Sense. And like The Sixth Sense is pretty great, right? Like that's a really good movie.
Like
Unbreakable's
I like both of them. I don't. S tier still feels like strong
very strong.
language.
The fact that The Sixth Sense is on AFI's top 100 of all time, like that's a bit of a stretch, I think.
It's a little silly. I like it. It's good,
Yeah,
but I
it's a
don't know
good
if it's
movie.
quite that good. But I mean, we talked about it already. But like, Signs does suck. For the record, Signs is
Yeah.
a bad movie. Then The Village, then Lady in the Water, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. The
People still
Happening.
when I talk about The Village, people still go, "Oh, yeah, I thought it was okay." I'm like, "No, you didn't. I know you didn't. That's bullshit. You're full of shit. You're full of shit, guy. You did not. Nobody thought it was okay. It was one of the most memed upon movies the year it came out." And like you tell me you like the twist unironically, right? And every time well, okay, yeah, the twist was a little bit clunky. Like yeah,
So
that's
he
all
had
the
a
movie
pretty
is.
he had a pretty horrendous streak, and maybe Split is good. I still haven't seen it, but Knock at the Cabin sucked. This also sucked.
Old
Like
sucked.
he's just he's not good anymore. He's not.
He
He's not
peaked
good
on his
anymore.
first one.
Wait, did you know, by the way, fun fact about him, that he wrote the screenplay for Stuart Little?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't actually. I didn't.
Well, he did, and do with that information what you will. Dr. Diddler, thank you very much for the super chat. Says obligatory. What a twist! Yeah,
What a twist!
what's kind of funny about Knock at the Cabin is it just doesn't have one.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't have a twist at all, which is funny.
that's
It's the
interesting.
movie. It's the movie that, like, surely there would be one, because what it seems like on the surface is just moronic. But no, it just is what it is. It's exactly what you think it is from
Stupid.
the very beginning. Yeah. Was the M Night Avatar worse than the Netflix one?
Ooh,
I
man.
didn't see the Netflix one, so
Oh boy.
can't tell you.
That's tough because that's tough. That's real tough. Because the M Night one, astronomically bad, right? The Netflix one really does a lot of damage to the characters. It like especially with Aang. I don't like Jamie hasn't seen it obviously, but the damage that show, the live action Netflix Avatar, does to Aang's character is absolutely abysmal. I don't know, man. Have you heard about like I think I've ranted to you a little bit about this, but about what the Netflix show does to Aang's character?
If
Like
you did, I've
episode
forgotten it.
So basically, you know how in the cartoon, we see that he's kind of a really talented airbender at first, right? And then it's revealed that he's the Avatar, and now all of a sudden he's kind of isolated. His friends don't want to play with him anymore. He's taking on a lot more responsibility than he feels like he can. He's scared of it, and so
Yeah.
he runs away in a moment of weakness, and a storm takes him out, and then he freezes himself, and like he feels like he's abandoned the world because he tried to run away from his problems.
Yeah.
um yeah
I remember that. I like that stuff.
in the Netflix version, what happens is he's told that he's the Avatar, and that he's gonna have to take on some big responsibilities, and he has a big moment where he talks to Appa about how, I'm just a kid, I don't think I'm ready to do all this. I don't know that I can be the Avatar. And then Appa kind of goes like, ooh, and he goes, you're right, buddy. I'll figure it out. I just need some time to clear my head. Hey, why don't we go for a ride? And he gets on Appa, and they start like flying
Why
around.
would you change that?
And
Why
then the
would you
storm
change
hits,
that?
and he tries to go home. The storm hits, and he goes, shit, we should probably go home. This was silly.
And then he gets frozen.
And then he gets frozen.
That?
And while that happens, that is when, like, the moment he leaves is when the Fire Nation invades the temple and kills all the monks.
Why would you do that? Why?
Yeah, what purpose is there for this? Like, for that change? It is so like, and then like they have the whole thing where he's just like, well, I tried to run away.
Really
No, you
important. his guilt about that is really important to the
Yeah,
story, guys.
yeah. They had like so they changed that, and then they changed a bunch. Like they did a bunch of other. They changed a bunch of other things about it too. Where like they had that whole thing where they removed Sokka his overt sexism, air quotes, which completely undermines the
His
entire
arc, his
episode.
character, yeah.
Yeah, well, the entire episode where he learns from the Kyoshi warriors that girl like he has to dress like one of the Kyoshi warriors and learn to fight, but he has to come back and humble himself before them and ask them for their help, and then he learns that like that's episode 3,
Yeah.
guys. That's episode 3.
Yeah, it was, that stuff's important. It's so weird to be like, oh, he was kind of sexist. It's like, well, the whole point was then he learned to not be.
In the
You know?
third episode, and like, yeah, that was the point. Like it makes the point for you that you are like, we're removing it from the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the whole prologue of like the Fire Lord leaked. So yeah, the Fire Lord's plan. This is the only 2 episodes that I watched, by the way. So I'm gonna just like go off on him real quick. The Fire Lord's plan is like, because the first episode is kind of a prologue. He leaks the plans for the invasion to the Earth Kingdom. Right, like now in the show originally it was kind of a surprise, right? Like
Yeah,
he
it was a
launches a
surprise
surprise
attack.
attack. So in this one, he leaks the plans to the Earth Kingdom, but he says that the plan is to invade the Earth Kingdom. And see, by doing that, the Earth King will send out word to the other nations that the Fire Nation is going to invade the Earth Kingdom, and it'll put all of the other nations' attention on where the Fire Nation is going to invade the Earth Kingdom so that they won't see it coming when he actually invades the Air Kingdom.
What?
Yeah, that's his plan. Is it like basically red flag that he's going to attack, so that way like
When you
it was
say,
a surprise. It was
if everyone was, if they're all living in relative peace and there was no warfare between them, a surprise attack is better than saying, "Oh my God, he's going to attack us," because that makes everyone go, "Oh, we should probably be ready militarily. Like we should prepare." And so they'd be prepared for an attack. They just wouldn't think it was coming here. But it's not better.
No.
That's not a better plan. Why
No.
would you? Why would you change that? Why?
Yeah, why would you change it? Because it's meant to fill the void that was left by Game of Thrones. Is what the producers of the show had said. They're like, we hope this will appeal to the Game of Thrones crowd.
I mean, I know that every studio has been trying to do that ever since Game of Thrones was at its height, but like, you gotta stop. You can't do that with every property. All right.
Yeah. When like the fact that the politics in the Nickelodeon kids show makes more sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I mean,
fucking nuts, man.
There's some stupid stuff in that show, but it's amazing how much better it is than the M Night version, and then this version from how it's been described to me. I know that this new version looks like absolute piss. One of the ugliest things I've ever seen.
One of the things is that like I've seen people talk about how much they like the special effects in the Netflix version. I'm like, it doesn't look that much like. And it's been I have not watched the M Night version since it came out. Right? It doesn't look that much better to me.
But it's better lit.
Yeah, like
but like the lighting is better. That like if the special effects ever look good in this new one, which from what I've seen they don't look good at all, is because it's so dim and like such a shallow depth of field that they can just hide everything.
Yeah,
it's a really ugly show. I think it's like, especially all those night scenes, they just look atrocious. So M Night Shyamalan's Last Airbender is awful. It's really bad. It's really bad. But this new one doesn't sound like it might be worse in different ways, but I don't know if it's much better. It doesn't sound much better.
No, it's not.
It sounds like it has new problems.
It has whole new problems by changing and actively damaging the characters, like actively damaging their motivations and what drives them. Like it's bad.
Yeah. Well, that's lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I remember that was one of the first movies. I went and saw his Avatar Last Airbender movie with some friends in high school, and then we left the theater and we're all sitting in my friend's like minivan, and we're all just like kind of distraught a little bit. We were like, why? Like it was like one of the first like communal, like that was an awful movie experiences I had. we're all just sitting there like trying to wrap our heads around it. Like it's like everything about the movie is wrong, essentially.
Yeah.
Because we all like the cartoon enough, you know what I mean? We're like, oh, this will be fun. This will be cool.
Yeah, I
No.
was excited to see it when that happened, and I was like, wow, that was that was bad. I didn't expect it to be that bad. Speaking of stuff that like I knew it was going to be bad, but given the response, yeah, I guess I kind of expected this. Borderlands.
Oh, that looked terrible.
It
The
looked
trailer looked.
terrible.
It's doing terribly. I know that much.
It's doing really poorly. I like it. Mm. And I really liked that game too. That first game, the second game, masterpieces. It's making
You
me
think
want to
so?
replay them, honestly.
Yeah, so far it's okay. Well, it hasn't been that long yet, but it doesn't seem to be doing well at the box office. Didn't it have a zero for a brief time? It had a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty funny.
That's yeah. I haven't really like I do like those games. So I was kind of excited to see what they might do.
It currently, I mean, Rotten Tomatoes dumb system aside, the optics are pretty funny. It has a 9%. Um, so if it has 0 fresh ratings and 23 rotten ones, and then the actual average rating is a 2.8 out of 10. So that's pretty not good.
That's bad, man. Yeah, that's rough.
Pretty bad.
I am morbidly curious a little bit, but like pretty much everybody has said like it's not even so bad that it like you can have fun with it. It's just terrible.
It seems really obnoxious. And
Yeah.
I don't think I could stand that.
I don't think I could sit through it. Wait, okay, who was the sole positive review? Was it Grace Randolph? Was it her?
It's Grace Randolph, yeah.
Uh,
Hold on. Little Platoon shared it on Twitter. Hold on, I'll find it for you. It's pretty funny. Let's see, where is it? So at this, it had a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, and then it climbed up to 4, all because of Grace Randolph, who said, "I've never played the games, but I got a kick out of Blanchett starring in a movie like this and doing a great job!" Exclamation point. I do wish the script had been adjusted a bit better to accommodate her age. I don't know what that means. Blanchett fans will enjoy this. Not sure about any time else. She meant to say anyone else, but she said any time else. So that's pretty funny. That's the lone positive review of Borderlands.
That's it. Gotcha. Okay, so if you're a Cate Blanchett fan, wow. The quest for Lilith's glucosamine. Oh boy. Yeah, that was it's a messy Chris Randolph Maverick review. Yeah, well, I have very little interest in wasting the only time I can make it to a theater seeing these
Borderlands, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna try to give M Night Shyamalan a little bit of credit for being ever so mildly interesting, but not really. He doesn't. I don't think he deserves that. I don't think he deserves it, even if everything else was equally bad or worse. I don't think this movie deserves really much praise. I didn't hate the time I spent in the theater because there is some stupid fun, but it's not a good movie at all.
Yeah.
And I don't expect to ever get a fully enjoyable movie from him ever again.
Yeah, well, and then that way, if it ever happens, a pleasant surprise.
Yes.
Well, that's about all I have to say on Trap and Avatar and Borderlands. I think we're good to move on.
Well, let's see. Do we know what we're doing next Sunday already?
Were we gonna do Cuckoo?
Oh yeah, we're gonna go see that horror movie Cuckoo, because maybe it'll be good. Who knows? I'll always give weird indie horror movies a chance. So we'll check that out and we'll see if it's any good. And if it's worth talking about, we'll be talking about that next Sunday. And then the week after that, we will be doing Pinocchio, correct? The next of the 2D animated films.
We will either be doing that, or depending on your interest level, Alien Romulus.
Well, we'll definitely be covering that. I intend to cover that for sure, because I just like can't help myself with the Alien franchise. Like, I need to know how bad it is.
The crazy thing, like I watched the one trailer on Instagram where they like punched it up. They zoomed in and they put like some kind of really bad film grain filter over it, and the Instagram trailer looked like a bad fan film. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh Jesus, what the fuck? And I saw the trailer in the theater yesterday. It looks a lot better than the Instagram one made it out to be. Actually, like, it still looks.
Yeah, it's obvious to me that what they're trying for is a sort of back to basics Alien movie, like trying to just return to what worked about Alien, at least on the surface. It seems like there's just aliens in a confined space, whatever. No weird pretensions that Prometheus had about like meeting our maker and gods and all that sort of stuff, and whatever the fuck Alien Covenant was, horrible piece of trash movie.
But so
So
like to me, when I saw this new trailer though, I was like, oh, it's going so back to basics that this straight up just looks like a soft reboot, like on a lot of
yeah,
levels.
it does look like a soft reboot on a lot of levels. I don't expect it to be very good, but you know what? I'm going to see it anyway. I hope for Kaylee Spaney's sake that the movie's good because I like her as an actress. But
I'd like her if she picked some better folks to work with. Alex Garland.
yeah, I sure would too. So we'll probably talk about that, and then at some point we'll talk about Pinocchio. We'll keep that arc going of the
Yeah, we
two
will.
animated Disney movies. Until then, I suppose that's about it. Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
True Grit. I just finished I just finished reading that book for the first time, and I'd like to at some point rewatch that. Both of them, I think, the John Wayne and the Jeff Bridges.
You like the book?
The book is fucking awesome. Yeah, it's really good. I had a great time reading that after giving up on Children of Dune. So I tried. I made it
Yeah,
200 pages. I couldn't do it anymore. I could not handle Frank Herbert's political pamphlet pretensions with a sci-fi veneer anymore. I can't. Maybe eventually I'll go back to it. Maybe, but
Maybe.
that's it. That's all I got. True Grit, maybe at some point as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about the True Grit movies at some point. That sounds fun. All right, that's the gist. That's all I got for you. Go away now. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See ya. Don't go see Trap. It's not worth it. Just look up funny clips on YouTube later.
Yeah, exactly.
Not worth it.
Just watch the highlights.
Oh, really quick, I do want to say this because I did watch the full trailer for Mufasa. Barry Jenkins's live action Lion King prequel Mufasa.
Yes.
It looks horrendous. Like it made me sad to watch. It looks awful.
Oh god, I haven't seen it.
It looks terrible. I mean, it's got the same problem as Lion King 2019 in that like the lions are horrible CGI monsters who like can't emote at all, and it just from a visual standpoint, it's ugly as sin. And also the plot of this looks really stupid and like sort of retcons Mufasa's and Scar's history in a really weird way. And also there's evil white lions, so that's kind of funny. Like it just looks horrendous. Because
oh god, Kimba's coming.
Kimba's coming. Suspicious. No, they seem to be establishing that Mufasa was actually an orphan taken in by Scar's family, who were the actual like dynasty rulers of this area. So it sort of implies that Scar actually was the rightful king, and that Mufasa is kind of a usurper, like who was orphaned and then ended up taking over instead of him. And so a lot of people have been making jokes to the effect of like, well, now I get why you killed him. Actually. So that's weird. I don't know why they made that change, because the obvious implication of the movie is that there are brothers and that Mufasa's the older brother and that Scar is just kind of the weaselly little shit who always felt like he should have power but never had any. Like it's pretty simple.
Yeah. He's like the backup quarterback who wants to be the real
but in this one, Mufasa was the orphan taken in by Scar's family, and then somehow he ends up on the throne instead of Scar. And also there's an evil pack of white lions. I don't, it's just so funny. It's just so funny that they got Barry Jenkins to do a prequel about Mufasa, and the villains in that movie are albino lions. Uh,
Amazing.
it looks so bad, dude. It looks horrendous.
All right. Well, can't wait. Cannot wait. I'm also seeing all the stuff in the chat about movie Bob. That the Covenant are
Wait.
the good guys in Halo.
Oh yeah.
Because they're diverse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a funny take. If you, there's an EFAP about that at one point. It's pretty funny.
Interesting.
Don't
I think
remember
it's
which
because
one.
like there was some mention of him with Borderlands. Like, how is he going to like review Borderlands? Is he gonna be the next positive review?
Monopolize me, however you
Monopolize
say
me.
that. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Monopolize me says it infuriates me that you guys don't have more people watching these amazing breakdowns. Good, you should be angry. You gotta harness that anger. You gotta say, "I'm not gonna take it anymore." You gotta take it to the streets.
Riot.
This is a call to action. You need to convince more people to watch us. No, we appreciate it. We'll try to keep doing these. I'm hoping to get more guests to join in the future if their schedules allow it. But maybe they just hate us and they don't want to talk to us. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well,
you should. Hopefully, we can expect more guests to join in the future, and we'll try to keep doing these every Sunday, God willing. And yeah, we'll see you next time for Cuckoo, the horror movie. We'll see if it's any good. If it's not worth talking about, we'll pivot to something else, as we are wont to do. And then Pinocchio after that, and Alien Romulus at some point after that, and then more classic movies as they come up. All that sort of fun stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the super chats. We really appreciate it. And don't go see any more M Night Shyamalan movies ever.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned.
It's not worth it. Don't do it to yourself.
Don't do it.
You have so much to live for.
Have on Barack Obama. We'll bring Barack Obama on to talk about. I was gonna make a joke about Dumbo because he's got big ears, but I thought maybe that would be offensive.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Well, I mean,
always pivot to Shrek. Yeah, that's a good fallback option. We can settle it whether Shrek 1 is better than Shrek 2 or not. That's something we can argue about in the future.
I'm sure people would love it.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye. For real.